Could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. 97.5 The Fanatic. Philadelphia. The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL wild card. Andrew Salchunas, 97 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You want to know what the real and inside story is of the Philadelphia Eagles? It's that they're dead. It's that they stink. It's that they have no life left. It's that this season is over. It's that the season has been over since the San Francisco 49ers came in here and smacked you in the mouth. It's been dead since you then tried bouncing back in Dallas and showed a lifeless performance. It's been dead ever since Fletcher Cox said, well, we'll see what this team is made of in Seattle. And they go to Seattle, and what happens? They lose. They allow Drew Lock to go down to the field 90 freaking yards in a couple of minutes. They've been dead since Seattle, officially dead. The San Francisco 49ers pretty much put them on life support. They held on through Dallas, and they officially ended against the Seattle Seahawks. That's when it was done. They've lost 5 out of their last 6 games. And they have shown very little, if not no life whatsoever in any of them. Yesterday, none. Yesterday, they didn't show up. So they decided to go with the starters. Remember, last week we had the debate whether or not the starters should play. That entire week of debates that we had, that entire week was a waste of my time, was a waste of Ray's time, was a waste of your time. That game itself was a waste of your time. So they decided to play the starters. Okay. And I'll be honest, during the pregame show yesterday with Bob and Pat, I was honest the entire time. I didn't think that they were going to go into this game against the Giants and find something that would make them click come playoff time. But you know what I didn't think? I didn't think that the opposite could happen, where they could be even worse. They were even worse yesterday. They played their starters. They're down 24-0 at halftime. This isn't a playoff team. I know they're in the playoffs. Good for them. They went 10-1 to start the season. This isn't a playoff team. The quarterback's lost. The defense just has no answers. If we know that for a while now, and it's gotten worse since Matt Patricia took over. Believe it or not, Sean Desai was not the problem. At some point, I'm going to tweet it out and start the trend. Hashtag justice for Desai. Matt Patricia stinks. Nick Sirianni. Hand up. Hand up me, myself, Andrew Salchunas, hand up. I did not believe that there would be any way Nick Sirianni could potentially be fired. Dead serious. We did a show last week. A little side topic. We did the 2024 sports time capsule in Philadelphia. And one of the questions I asked was who on the Philadelphia fan hot seat, right? Not from the media, but the fan hot seat. Who will still be here throughout 2024, who will not finish the season? I believe that Nick Sirianni would still be here through the year 2024. I can't say that with confidence anymore. They're not firing him today. They're not firing him maybe even after the loss to the Buccaneers, if that is the case. But this dude has no answers. I listened to his press conference yesterday. I got dumber. I had to hear all about how, it starts with me. We're going to get together. The guys still believe in each other. Do they? You know what yesterday looked like? A bunch of dudes that didn't want to be out there. That's what that game looked like. Going back to that debate of whether or not you should play your starters or not, I think the starters didn't want to play. And you know what happened? The second A.J. Brown got banged up, I think every single starter, every single veteran on that football team said, what are we still doing out here? You don't just lose 24-0, or excuse me, you don't go into halftime down 24-0 to the New York Giants because, what? You're having a bad week? No. You go down 24-0 at halftime against the New York Giants because you have officially given up. You've given up on the voices ahead of you. You've given up on yourself. Because let's face it, the players are to blame here too. It's not just about Nick Sirianni. The players have given up. And I'm pretty sure once A.J. Brown went down, they said, what are we still doing out here? This team has made my brain melt. I believe I have gotten dumber as a football fan watching this team play over the last couple of weeks. Marcus Mariota comes in, right? Very first play, they of course, they got to run the wide receiver screen. And you know why? You know, I don't know this. I can't confirm this. But this is the devil inside of me that goes, he probably ran that freaking play, Brian Johnson, to be like, oh, well, maybe if Marcus could, maybe I could just prove to people that maybe it's Jalen's fault or something. I don't know. Very first play, it's intercepted. I just can't believe that this team died over a month ago and hasn't shown any sort of fight, any sort of will to get back. Talk is cheap, man. I love BG. But I heard BG after the Cardinals game, this is just a storm, that we're going to get through it. I heard Jalen Hurts yesterday during his press conference. This is a storm. We got to get through it. My God, guys, this isn't some just storm. This team has given up. They have given up on their coaching staff. They've given up on themselves. I just can't believe that we still have to wait till Monday to watch one more game of this. I can't believe it. There is no identity with this team. There's no confidence with this team. And I'm not even saying confidence in themselves. I'm saying as us, fans, media personalities, whatever. You're watching the game, right? What is the single thing that you could say, all right, at least they got that going for them? There's not one, man. There is not a single thing. And I'm not just talking about last night. I'm not even talking about yesterday's game. I'm talking about 5 out of the last 6 games. What is the one thing that you can point to where you go, at least they got that going for them? What, maybe the offensive line? Maybe. It's not just, Jalen Hurts hasn't played up to this standard. He's been okay. Last night, not so much, but the previous 2 weeks, he's been okay. But was he good enough to uplift them to beat an Arizona Cardinals team? No. The defense, there isn't a single thing. Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, they've been non-existent. And those are the only 2 guys you could still somewhat rely on to make something happen. But you know what? We should have stopped relying on them a month ago. Josh Sweat hasn't had a sack in 7 weeks. Coaching changes in the middle of the season. Clearly a panic move. A game like yesterday doesn't make me want to talk about Eagles-Bucks anymore. A game like yesterday doesn't want me to talk about the game itself. A game like yesterday makes me have to talk about the future and have uncomfortable conversations about coaches and personnel. This offense with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and again, I'm going to almost ignore yesterday. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, he gets hurt, right? But say everybody's healthy. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, offensive line, DeAndre Swift, they've been healthy for the majority of the season. And all season long, it's been tough to watch. Whether it's the game plan, which is Nick Sirianni's, the plays called in the middle of the game by Brian Johnson, the execution by Jalen Hurts, running backs not hitting holes. It's been a full season of it. And I can't believe I'm finding myself saying this, but I'm so happy it's done. I'm so happy the regular season has come to an end because I don't want to go through this anymore. We're going to get up for the game on Monday and hope they win because, as I say, every single season, more Eagles football is better than none. It is. And if you can win a game against the Bucks and look, we'll talk ourselves into maybe having a chance in the next round. But come on. Most of it's going to be fake. The future conversations will happen more in the future. But last night was the first time where I started thinking about change is happening and it's necessary. That's not just being overreactionary. That's not just being emotional. Hell, us being emotional, probably the best thing for this team because they themselves are showing absolutely no emotion. Got to hear the same crap coming out of their mouths after every single game, players and coaches. Oh, I'm pissed off. Okay, do something about it. Oh, it starts with me. We got to figure this out. All right, what? You're still running the same 5 plays on offense. You're getting just dramatically worse on defense. Matt Patricia takes over, and you have gotten dramatically worse. There are numbers to back that up. We'll talk more about it coming up next. The number to climb in is 610-632-0975 is a Football Monday. And Football Mondays on the Fanatic are presented by Pierce Phelps Bryan Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryan.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Everyone talks about how we got to look ourselves in the mirror. When they look at when the players look themselves in the mirror, what are they looking at? There's no way they're looking themselves in the mirror and saying, all right, at least I did my part. Who did their part? They're down 24-0 to a team that has already had their bags packed and ready to go on vacation. Every member of the Giants showed more life than you on the Eagles. Tyrod Taylor is picking apart your defense. Guys are running into each other on defense. What the hell happened? They were 10-1. And don't give me, maybe they were fraudulent. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Bills. They beat the Chiefs. Something went wrong in this locker room. It got sour, and it's never been fixed. And a lot of you made way too much of what A.J. Brown had to say last week about how it was a turning point. That's nonsense. Man, were we quickly proven wrong just a couple days later. We'll talk about the absolute downfall, the demise, the death of the 2023-24 Philadelphia Eagles. If you didn't think they were dead before yesterday, well, you got your answer now. It's a day for all of us right here on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Oh, no. We suck again. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Indeed.com. You don't need a job site. You need a hiring platform. Indeed lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from one place. Start Indeed.com.
think about preparing for the Bucks just yet. Can't believe we have to wait an extra day for that Monday night. Jeez. 10 o'clock hour brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Reacting to the downfall of the Philadelphia Eagles. People were saying it's a worst collapse of the 1964 Phillies. I can't disagree with that. I mean, they were 10-1. 10-1. A historic collapse for the Philadelphia Eagles. They were 10-1. They fall to the 5 seed, and now we're talking about them hopefully beating the Buccaneers. Hopefully beating the Buccaneers, who barely put up 9 points against the Panthers yesterday. That's how bad things are. And so last week, when we were talking about the upcoming game, Eagles-Giants. All right, what's the, if we are playing the starters, what's something that you hope to see that you can come away with, right? My God, there's not a single thing. There isn't. By the way, the worst things happened. A.J. Brown getting hurt. Sidney Brown's done. Jalen Hurts, the finger gets hurt. These guys shouldn't have been out there to begin with. I had a guy tweet at me yesterday. How many times are you going to talk about you being right? I'm not going to do that. But I was. There was no reason for them to play. Now, I didn't think the worst case scenario would be not only injuries, but then having even less confidence going to the playoffs. Because if you're a player on that Eagles team, think about this for a second. You're a player on that team. You're hoping to at least go out there and just beat the doors off your opponent and maybe feel good about yourself going to the playoffs. You lost! The last time you played the Giants, you barely won. Devontae Smith, after the game, was talking about how we only have 2 weeks left to try to figure this out. 2 weeks left to try to get right. You lost both those games to the Cardinals, a team that had 3 wins, and the Giants to a team that had 4. Like, they've gotten worse. You lose to Seattle, man, you want to try to make excuses. All right, tough spot after, the gauntlet, Niners, Cowboys, and then you got to go out west. You want to make excuses? Fine. Go for it, man. Don't hold your breath. Go for it. There's no excuse for the last 2 weeks. None. They have gotten worse across the board. Coaching staff has gotten worse. The players have gotten worse. The opponents that they have lost to have gotten worse. Now, here's a little thing. But this is, to me, another indictment on the coaching staff and Nick Sirianni. By the way, coming up around 11 o'clock, we used to do the vault, right? And after a win, it was great. We play the highlights and celebrate. I'm going to do something coming up at 11 o'clock. You know how people break down film? Well, we're going to break down audio. And I'm going to break down the Nick Sirianni press conference yesterday to show you how lost this dude is and how much he has lost a lot of the players in that locker room, I think. And last week when I thought there was no way he could potentially be fired, man, if guys are walking around like this, acting like the season ended 3 weeks ago, I don't know how you can all of a sudden have confidence in Nick Sirianni if you're Jeffrey Lurie or Howie Roseman. But yesterday, a little thing that bothered me, and I brought it up during the pregame show. When the inactives came out yesterday, they had a couple of the vets out. We already knew Devontae Smith and Darius Slay were going to be out. DeAndre Swift came down with the illness. Fletcher Cox was a surprising inactive. There was a name on there that popped up that right away, hand to God, go back and listen to the pregame show. Right away, I brought it up to Bob and Pat, and I go, why is Tyler Steen inactive for this game? Now, hear me out. Nick Sirianni, as we will break down the press conference later on to start the 11 o'clock hour, admitted that he was going to be scoreboard watching yesterday to see what was going on and then eventually take out the starters to get them some rest, which is what I wanted to do all along. Why wouldn't you have an extra offensive lineman out there? Why is Tyler Steen inactive? You got cornerbacks that are 6th or 7th on the depth chart. One of the things that you're actually good at is, the offensive line. It got to the point where Jason Kelsey had to put his helmet back on because you didn't have enough depth because Landon Dickerson gets banged up. You got to put Kelsey back out there. And that's just a little thing. It's not the reason why they lost yesterday. It's not the reason why the team is having a downfall, but he talks about the details, and oh, man, it starts with the details. It starts with me. You go deep dive into the details. Well, if you knew that there was a chance that you were going to be pulling players out there, wouldn't you want your offensive line to have every opportunity to get as much rest as you can? I know it's very little, but I don't think I'm wasting my time even bringing it up. Because when I saw it come out yesterday at 3 o'clock, I said, okay, this is an odd decision. I like, it gets to the point where you're almost lost for words, but I have to do this for 4 hours, so I have to kind of keep on chugging through. But there is nothing left with this team that gives me even remotely a little bit of confidence going to the playoffs. Let's go to the phones. I'll get to Ray coming up. I want to hear from you guys. I mean, this is astonishing to me. Let's go to Vince on the cell. What's up, Vince?
How you doing? Good morning.
What's up?
Listen, number one, I think it's a shame that our local radio guys have more fire than these millionaires that are on that field.
Somebody tweeted at me yesterday, Vince, that he thinks I could have done a better job at wide receiver. And I was dead serious when I said, yes, I could be, because all you have to do is line me up for the wide receiver screen. I might still get only 0 yards, but that's kind of the play that they run all season long anyway. I'll catch the pass. I'll get my head knocked off, but I'll probably have the same result.
At least you made an effort. And the thing is that team looked like they laid down yesterday.
Yes.
I think you said it multiple times. There was no life. There was no fight or fire in them. And one of my biggest things is I always hear about these coaches and individuals don't have experience. I want to tell you something. If that was Seth Joyner, Dawkins, Cobb, Jenkins, Brooks, Hopkins, or Trotter, Hugh Douglas, none of that stuff that happened yesterday would have happened if they were playing.
I mean, I would hope not. I mean, those are some legendary Eagles players that you just talked about. But
what I want some feedback from you on this. Why don't they bring back these guys to coach? Because I want to tell you something. They would have a fire under the.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I mean, we've been doing this Seth Joyner thing as defensive coordinator for the last 10 years. I
know.
Just because they look, you just talked about how I'm showing more fire than the Eagles players. Do you want me to coach? I highly doubt it. Right? Like, these guys have been out of the league for a long time, and it's great that they react. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Brian Dawkins is studying film anymore, Vince. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a lot of charity stuff that he does and does tremendous work in the community. He knows more football than you and I, but I don't know if he's ready to go out there and all of a sudden fix this Eagles defense that has terrible players on it.
Oh, I'm not going to disagree there. The thing is, though, I'm just talking about fire. I'm a Niners fan since '72, but the Eagles are my second favorite team. But yesterday, head coach looked like a deer in headlights.
Yeah. Oh, he had no answers yesterday. He had no answers yesterday, and they kept showing him. And thanks for the call, Vince. They kept showing him on the sideline, and he's looking at there perplexed, like, man, is this really happening? Like, yeah, dude, this is really happening. This team that you keep on talking about, how you still have the locker room and they still believe in you. And you know, last week somebody asked him about it, and they said, "How do you know that you still have the locker room?" He said, "Because I know these guys. I have lunch with them, and blah blah." Man. If there's ever a time where you can find out whether or not you actually have those guys, it's watching them play yesterday. That's the only answer you need to know. You know what yesterday reminds me of? Ray, good morning. What's up?
Morning.
Yesterday reminds me of, now your college experience a little bit different because of COVID, and I don't think it snowed in the last 5 years in Philadelphia.
There was one snowstorm.
One snowstorm. So there were a couple of snowstorms when I was at Temple, and when there was a centimeter of snow, they would call classes every once in a while. And then when a real snowstorm came and there was the one professor that said, "Hey, we're still going to have class today." And everybody was like, "Really? We got to go to we got to go to this class?" That's what yesterday looked like. Nick Sirianni probably told the team, "Hey, we are playing in this game." And it's great and all that some of the veterans said we wanted to play. Honestly, dude, I think the majority of the players, when Nick Sirianni told them that they were going to be playing, it was, "Oh, really? Really? I need to play in this game?"
The visual I'm getting is the reactions they got to the Pro Bowl selections were actually just their reactions to him telling them that they were going to play that game on
Sunday. Probably. I don't think they wanted to be out there. And I'm serious. The second A.J. Brown gets banged up, maybe even Sidney Brown, but the second A.J. Brown gets banged up, it looked like a bunch of dudes. All right, that's the second guy that got hurt. I'm gonna I'm going to play a little bit of a slower pace here. I don't think those guys wanted to be out there.
They played at the 75% that one caller we had
a couple weeks
suggested. Like, it was a disaster. I mean, I could drop into a whole diatribe about how disgusted I am, how much this season is so over to me, and that, we're going to talk about it because that's what we do. We're going to, watch that, get all ready for that Tampa Bay game because that's what we do.
Yeah, football Friday, football Monday next week.
Yeah, I got this team has turned me off in such a way that I really am disgusted by it, and I think you're better off just hearing from the people because I can't break it down any other way than the way everyone else will today because
there's nothing to break down. There's nothing. I mean, look, the offense being an issue is something that we have talked about for weeks now. Almost the whole season. The defense being an issue is something that we've talked about pretty much all season long. And I'm not saying we fooled ourselves when they were 10-1. They were legitimately finding ways to win against good teams, right? Like they weren't barely beating the Giants during that 10-1 stretch. Yeah, did they barely beat the Commanders twice? But they did beat the Chiefs. They did beat the Bills. They did beat the Dolphins. They did beat the Rams. They beat quality teams during that 10-1 stretch. Something happened when they lost to the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if it was, wow. Like, did they start doubting themselves from the previous season? Remember Stephen A. Smith, I thought was completely ridiculous for saying on his show that the Eagles losing to the 49ers diminished them as actual NFC champions the previous year. I still think that's ridiculous, but I wonder if that crept into some of their minds. And then I thought, all right, now's your chance to go down to Dallas and show the world that you aren't a fraudulent team, that you are not a fraudulent 10-2 team. And then they lose. And then they lose again. And then there's finger pointing. And then there's turmoil in the locker room. There's 18 different player-only meetings. We got escape room outings where only 30 of the 53 guys go. There's issues with this team. We're ripping reporters for having legit reports. I think there is players talking about one another. That's what happens when people are upset. They start pointing fingers. And this is at an all-time high. They didn't have a bad week. They've had a bad month and a half with nothing to grab onto. And that's the thing that hurts the most for me. There is nothing to grab onto from breaking down any of these games over the last 6 weeks for me to say that's the thing that they can work on. That's the thing that they can get better. That's the thing that's going to make them go on some run in the playoffs. There's not a single thing. There's not a player on defense that you can go, all right, maybe this guy can change things for them. There's not a player on offense that's done anything remotely close to spectacular where you say if you just continue going through that guy. And that's the thing that sucks the most because there are no answers. Let's go to Titan. Titan, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, man, we've been saying this almost all season. We were like, man, the Eagles haven't played their best game yet. Yeah,
and at one point, I made the point to say maybe there is no second. We talked about it. We did a whole show on whether or not the Eagles have a second gear. And I said, I don't think there is. However, I did think, because this is a show of honesty, I did think that gear that they were in was still good enough to win because this was after wins against the Bills and the Chiefs. But, man, it's not that there was no other gear. They've gone back. I mean, their engine is broken down.
Well, here's the ugly truth, and nobody really wanted to say it early on. The loss of the two coordinators heavily affected us, and we found out Nick Sirianni is not an X's and O guy. He's a rah-rah guy. And it was clear in that 49ers game, in that Dallas game, we didn't have an answer to any of the things we're doing. The Giants can blitz us and give Jalen 0 seconds to pass the ball. That doesn't make sense to me with the offensive line we got. So that's scheme and that's coaching. And what happens when you get bad coaching is you develop bad habits.
Yep, bad tendencies.
Jalen tried to play hero ball a lot this year, and it's cost them with the turnovers. It is almost like the McNabb era all over again. If you don't have good coaching, you're going to have these things. And the defense, oh, my God. We're a last-place defense. You're not going to beat anybody with a last-place defense. When's the last time we really stopped somebody, including the Giants?
The last time you stopped somebody, I would say, like legitimate opponent, probably the Dolphins.
Right.
Oh, and the Chiefs.
Patricia have a job everywhere he goes without Bill Belichick. He's a failure.
Yeah, and that goes back to Nick Sirianni. And thanks for the call, Titan. You look at the numbers. There are numbers. I read through a tweet yesterday during the pregame show. The Eagles have gotten not just slightly worse since Matt Patricia has taken over. They have gotten dramatically worse. Sean Desai was used as a scapegoat. And I'm not even saying that Sean Desai is Jim Johnson, right? I'm not saying he's some incredible defensive coordinator, but that dude deserves a hell of a lot more credit, deserves an apology from Nick Sirianni, if we're being honest. Deserves an apology from maybe it was Howie Roseman who made the decision. Whoever's decision that was needs to go to Sean Desai today and say, I'm sorry. Every Eagles fan that was extremely critical of Sean Desai, that nitwit that had the sign outside of NovaCare with the Fire Sean Desai sign, that guy should apologize. Sean Desai ultimately looks like a blessing to this team. It's the same players. They've gotten dramatically worse with Matt Patricia. And the problem with this league, Matt Patricia he'll get another job. He will. That's the problem with this league. Now, something that Titan brought up. Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator of the New York Giants. There's no mystery what he does. He brings pressure. No mystery, right? Let's bring extra guys. Let's have their offensive line beat our defensive linemen, and it's up to the quarterback to make the play to avoid the pressure. You just played him 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago. And you come out with the game plan where Jalen Hurts is under duress constantly. Constantly. You didn't have a single answer to pressure that you faced 2 weeks ago. Wink Martindale is not some rookie defensive coordinator that you have no idea what this guy's going to throw your way. No, he's been around. It was no mystery what you were going to face yesterday. And you go out there basically putting your quarterback at harm in a game in which you probably shouldn't have played to begin with. Now, there are some people that are still fighting the good fight, like Rich in Tampa. What's up, Rich?
Listen, man, this pains me to call you and say this, but step away from the ledge, man. Step away from the ledge. You already beat the Bucs once. I'm a Buccaneers fan.
Okay.
I'm worried about you, man.
You're worried about me. I appreciate you worrying about me, but it is that bad, Rich. You are a Bucs fan. You're not living what we're living through. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. That Eagles team that beat your squad in Week 3 is nowhere close to where they are now.
Well, I lived it mid-season, and you're right. You're right. We're going to kick.
Yeah,
you
lived it mid-season, man. But with all due respect to your team, you lived it with Baker Mayfield and company. I'm living it with a runner-up MVP quarterback last year, all pros on both sides of the ball, a team that was at the Super Bowl. Your experience and my experience are nowhere close.
You're right. We're going to win. I'm good with that.
Okay, congratulations. And then you'll lose in the next round. And if the Eagles win, the same thing will happen to them. I don't need smack talk from a Buccaneers fan today. You guys scored 9 points against the Panthers. You have the least amount of fight when it comes to smack talk. The Buccaneers can basically be non-existent to me. The only reason why they exist in my mind is the fact that the Eagles have to play at least one more game, and they have to play the Buccaneers Monday night. And my God, screw you, NFL, making me wait an extra day. Screw you. Just put it on freaking Saturday and potentially get me out of my misery. All right, we got an open line, 610-632-0975. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a couple more calls on the other side. But around 11 o'clock, we're going to do a audio breakdown. Not film breakdown. This is radio, baby. We're doing an audio breakdown. I grabbed Nick Sirianni's press conference. I listened to it after the game yesterday. Don't know why. And then I put myself through the pain on the drive in. Listened to it again. And then I put myself through the pain setting up the segment by listening to it once more. I've now heard Sirianni 3 times. And each time I've felt worse and worse and worse. And so now I'm going to do it one more time, but you're going to be there with me. But I'm going to break it down. What I did was I grabbed some questions and answers. And then after the answer was done, we're going to pause it and we're going to talk about it all. And we'll use other bits of audio to kind of dispute what Nick Sirianni is saying. Because coming up next, I'm going to play you something from Fletcher Cox. You want to talk about damning? You think I'm just the evil media guy who says this team is dead? How about one of the own players, the players on the Eagles talking about it? Kind of. But what he says, oh boy, is it damning. You'll hear it all next. More of your calls on an awful, awful, awful Monday in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Meltdown at the Meadowlands. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that is built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. The Eagles flat out stunk on Sunday. They got crushed by the New York Giants as they found a new rock bottom once more in a month stretch that has seen a lot of terrible games. They've now lost 5 of their last 6 games. The final score of 27-10 is too kind to the disaster that it was. The Eagles played their starters, trailed 24-0 before halftime. On top of that, A.J. Brown, Sidney Brown, Cam Jurgens, Reed Blankenship, and Jalen Hurts all were banged up in the game. The Birds now head to Tampa Bay next Monday night to take on the Buccaneers in their playoff game in the final game of Wild Weekend. Today at 4 p.m., ESPN's Tim McManus will join the best show ever in studio for an hour to talk Eagles. The Flyers finally won again. Local hockey club snapped its losing skid with a 3-2 win over the Calgary Flames on Saturday. Travis Konecny scored a shorthanded goal in the third period to put the Flyers ahead. Flyers and Penguins tonight, 7 o'clock right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Sixers lost 2 games since we last spoke. Back in action on Wednesday night. This update's also brought to you by Pennsylvania Health Insurance Exchange Marketplace. Get the lowest cost on high-quality health coverage now through Penny PA's Health Insurance Marketplace. You're worth protecting. Enroll by January 19th at penny.com. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars. Keep it locked here for the latest news and info. I'm Ray Dunn on the home for the Sixers and Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic.
An epic collapse. The Eagles lost to the Giants 27-10 and lose 5 of their last 6 games. They limp into the playoffs and now must get ready to go to Tampa Bay. We are talking about it all day. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Wawa has pizza. And now get $5 off a 14-inch or 16-inch pizza when you order on the Wawa app or your favorite delivery app. Order varieties like pepperoni and sausage, each bubbling with melty mozzarella. It's always pizza night at Wawa. Perfect for hanging out with friends or watching the game. Order on the Wawa app or your favorite delivery app to get $5 off any pizza starting at 4 p.m. Gotta have a Wawa. Bring in 2024 in a big way at Wawa. Get any 20 or 24-ounce cup of freshly brewed hot coffee for just $2. You can pour more of your favorite coffee, every mild, medium, or dark roast, and our new caramel cream-flavored coffee with notes of caramelized sugar, rich salted butter, and warm, fragrant vanilla. Go big with a Wawa coffee for $2. Gotta have a Wawa. Limited time offer.
Hey guys, Ricky Bowe here for Alpha Men's Center. If you need to lose weight, feel better, look better, and your diet and exercise plan isn't getting you there, you may need some extra help. Have you heard of the new weight loss medication, semaglutide? This powerful new medication is revolutionizing the weight loss industry. And it's available right now at Alpha Men's Center in King of Prussia. Approved by the FDA, semaglutide acts like an appetite suppressant and helps reduce food cravings while increasing feelings of fullness after meals, making it easier for you to stick to a healthy meal plan without feeling deprived or hungry. Alpha Men's Center in King of Prussia is offering a $99 first consultation, which includes your blood work and tests, plus 30% off your first 2 months of weight loss treatment. Schedule your $99 consultation now at Alpha Men's Center at alphamenscenter.com. If you resolve to lose weight, don't give up hope. Go to alphamenscenter.com.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Hey, it's John Kincaid, host of The John Kincaid Show and 3-time cancer survivor. I want to thank all of you who have joined me in supporting life-saving cancer research by donating at aacr.org/fanatic. And to our generous corporate partners, thank you for stepping up and supporting the AACR, the official charity of The John Kincaid Morning Show.
Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors will do whatever it takes to keep you comfortable this season. For flexible spending options on a new HVAC system, visit nopaybryant.com. With over 1,500 windows to choose from, Window Nation can outfit any home. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. For 24-hour emergency service on your HVAC system and home comfort you can count on, visit carneyallseasons.com.
Donations to the American Association for Cancer Research from our listeners and corporate partners add up to big breakthroughs that benefit cancer patients worldwide. Why don't you join me and make a life-saving donation today at aacr.org/fanatic.
Nothing slows my little girl down, except a stuffy nose. Mommy. That's why I use Sinex Children's Saline from Vicks. Sinex instantly clears mucus in everyday stuffy little noses with a gentle, ultra-fine mist designed for kids. Just Sinex? Breathe. Her stuffy nose is gone for now. And so is she.
Sinex Children's Saline. Sinex, breathe. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope, and they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
We're from Washington. We love Febrez's new scent. Refresh and energize.
So much we made a song about it.
I can't escape this feeling inside. Refresh and energize. It's a mood, it's a vibe. Breathing for the first time. So free, so alive. Breathe happy for breeze. Smells like paradise. Breathe happy for breeze. La 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 la.
It's a new era of orange in Philadelphia, and you don't want to miss the Philadelphia Flyers hit the ice at Wells Fargo Center this season.
Rebound, they score! Persistence pays off for Cam York.
Be here on January 10th for the Pride Game, when the Philadelphia Flyers take on the Montreal Canadiens at 7 p.m.
They get it in front and they score! Cam Atkinson!
Get your tickets now, only at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. 97.5 The Fanatic. Philadelphia. Now, a Birds playoff update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Eagles' epic collapse continued on Sunday. The Eagles were flat out a disaster in Sunday's game against the Giants as the Birds' slide continued in a 27-10 loss to the Giants, where they found themselves trailing 24-0 at halftime. On top of that, A.J. Brown, Sidney Brown, Cam Jurgens, Reed Blankenship, and Jalen Hurts all were banged up in the game. Now the Birds get the 5th seed and will go play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay in the wild card round on Monday night. After the game, Nick Sirianni expressed his belief in his team's ability to come together despite its recent struggles.
None of us are quitters. We all get up off the mat when we're down and we keep going. When you get hit in life, when you get hit in football, you got two options. You can stay down or you can get the F up. And I know this group is fighters.
ESPN's Tim McManus joined the Fanatic Birds postgame show and had a different tune.
You know, they're trying to convince themselves that they have a shot, that finish doesn't define them. But we see this for what it is, guys. I mean, this is a collapse.
Keep it locked here for all the latest Birds news and information. I'm Ray Dunn on your home for continuing coverage of the Birds as they get ready for the NFL wildcard round. 97.5 The Fanatic.
The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL wild card. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back to the Midday Show as we are talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, who are near and dear to our hearts. My God. Coming up at 11 o'clock, we're going to do this audio breakdown, or maybe even a little bit before, of Nick Sirianni's press conference yesterday. But before we even get to that, can we play Jalen Hurts? This is one of these things. I texted Ray. I think it's reached a point where I just need comedy in my life. And I need this like I need oxygen. Jalen Hurts continuing to just talk in narratives that, are, I don't know, you want to talk about the Saban thing, or is it him himself? I don't know. Remember there was that report from Jeff McClain that maybe some players in the locker room will wish Jalen Hurts to be, a little bit different, right? Maybe be a little bit more human. This was him after the game yesterday.
The thing about weathering it all, man, we get a question like that or a question like this. It's about not riding waves, never getting too high, never getting too low, and keeping the main thing with that. Right now, regardless of what's going on outside of us, anything external, it's about controlling what we can. And I truly believe this team is more than capable in taking advantage of what's in front of us. You got to do the work, and you got to do what you need to do. But all you need is a crumb. All you need is an opportunity. All I need is a crumb. And so we're gonna put our hands on deck to do that. It's simply win or go home. Nothing else matters. Nothing prior matters.
There's no crumbs left, bro. The Grinch has already come through. Remember, he didn't even leave a crumb for a mouse. There's no crumbs. What are you talking about, dude? Like, this is when you win, everything's cool. And this might be unfair for me to do this, but when you start losing the way that you have been over the last month and a half, everything starts to bother you. So maybe it's unfair for me to do this, but like everything he says now bothers me. Everything Nick Sirianni says now bothers me. I start thinking about back to Sirianni nodding his head to the camera. That started to bother me because when you're losing, you have no answers. When you're winning, that's great. You're riding the high. You are riding that wave, as Jalen Hurts says. You're riding that wave, but when you're losing, like you got nothing. You're spiraling out of control, and you continue to let it happen. One positive note, if you believe that there is one or not, John Clark reporting that the Eagles are still awaiting results on the MRI on A.J. Brown's knee, but John Clark has been told that A.J. is feeling a lot better this morning, and that we could see A.J. Obviously A.J. was greeting all the teammates at the tunnel yesterday. I don't know if that means anything, but apparently A.J. Brown feeling better today. If they have a remote chance of winning anything, they need him out there. Let's go to Tyrese on the cell. What's up, Ty?
Hey, how you doing, man? Love the show.
Thank you.
I don't even know where to start. Where I want to start, though, is, and I'm going to be drastic. I ain't going to lie. I don't remember what type of pieces Mariota had on his team, but as soon as he came into the game, sometimes you can blame a lot of things on players. You can blame it on coaches, players, but sometimes
I'm gonna pause you right there. Don't even start talking like it looked better with Mariota out there.
I didn't want to. I said drastic.
The Giants were up 24-0 at halftime. They knew that this game was over. They're just playing off the line of scrimmage. They're not blitzing as much. They're like it's so much different. Mariota was basically playing 7-on-7.
You're right. It's just so crazy how when Jalen is in, and it's like when we don't have our players, Smitty and AJ, his field position, like he doesn't see the field. Period.
Dude, even with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, it hasn't looked good the last couple of weeks.
But you see how he came in, like Mariota just kind of came in. I'm not saying he needs to be the new face of it or anything. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, you look at Quez Watkins and talk about how he played his best game in years.
Yeah, well, you know what? Thanks, Quez, for going up for a football with some ferocity this time, but you didn't do it earlier this year that led to an interception against the Seahawks. Like, I'm not going to give Quez Watkins any flowers today. The guy's given up multiple times this year.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
He's been afraid of contact. He's been afraid to fight for footballs. Like, I'm not giving Quez Watkins flowers because he caught a touchdown in a meaningless game yesterday.
No, and especially at the third quarter, that was looking like garbage time at that point.
No, Marcus, I don't even go there, Ty. I appreciate the call. I know he said drastic. He set it up that he was going to be drastic. Don't go there. I knew we would get it at some point. Oh, it looked better with Mariota out there. Come on. Defense is a lot different. There's no quarterback controversy here. All right, none. See, I'm looking at the call screener. I got a Vikings fan, and I have a Cowboys fan. Cowboys fans trying to talk us off the ledge. I'll get to those coming up in a little bit. Let's go to Carlos on the cell. Carlos, you're on the Fanatic.
I guess you could say good morning, guys, if you want to call it.
Morning. Period.
Yeah. Hey, listen. When honestly, this is what I thought, because I was watching the game, but I was listening to the game because I was doing some work around the house.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they were playing backups with the way they were getting beat.
Yeah.
Okay? Until I looked at the TV screen, and I said, what in the world is going on? I would have felt better. That's what I thought was going on. That, okay, hey.
Of course you would have. Of course you would have felt better today if that was Mariota the entire game and a bunch of backups losing 24-0. Of course you would have felt better. But but the story is they started their starters. That was the decision that Nick Sirianni made. I don't think the players were really bought into it. Once a couple guys go down, I think they were completely checked out. And then they're down 24-0 at halftime. It's an embarrassment. That's one of the most embarrassing losses I've seen in my life, considering everything, right? Like, there's been bad games in Eagles history. There's been bad games in my lifetime as being an Eagles fan. But in terms of the storylines that led up to this game, that this is their last chance to show some sort of fire going into the playoffs, and they go out there and lay an egg like that, and they're shut out 24-0 to the point where they're benching starters, not just resting starters, but benching them, that's embarrassing.
And you know what else is messed up too? The energy in that team.
Yeah, the body language is terrible.
Pointing, there's so much backbiting, and it's so divisive, man. I don't think anybody wants to play no more. Anybody wants to play no more. It's horrible. It's worse than pathetic. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Don't you worry. Playoff time, it's going to change, Carlos. Playoff time, they're going to get fired up come playoff time. You just wait till what Dallas Goedert had to say. We'll play that later on the show too. All right, let's do this. So Nick Sirianni spoke to the media yesterday. So what we're doing is a little audio breakdown. You know, Dan Orlovsky does film breakdown. I'm doing an audio breakdown, okay? That's my profession. Is breaking down everything that's said. Breaking down what I say, right? Players go back and watch the tape to see what they said. I sometimes listen to the tape about what I said, whether or not I sound like a moron or not. Well, here we're going to break down Sirianni's tape. So we're going to go step by step. Here's clip number 1 from Nick Sirianni's press conference after the game yesterday.
How do you explain that first half after what happened last week and with something still on the line?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't good enough. We didn't coach well enough. We didn't play well enough, and there's not really an explanation. We just didn't do the things we needed to do to be successful, and that starts with me.
How is there no explanation? Explain it. Seriously. Now, I know he's not going to go out there and say, oh, yeah, that group of guys is a bunch of quitters. But you go out there and you completely lay an egg when, to the reporter's point and credit, there was still something to be played for. I didn't want the Eagles to even play their starters, but there was still the 2 seed available. Did those players go into the game going, man, Cowboys aren't going to lose? What does it matter if we play well or not? Was that the mindset of the team? And if that's the mindset of the team, then you have completely lost it. Number 2.
Do you think the locker room is still with you?
Yeah, I know I felt in that locker room that, we got a lot of belief in that locker room. And we know everybody, there's a lot of teams that would want to be in our position to make in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs, and we're moving on into to Tampa Bay. And everybody's got to give everything they got this week. Myself, the coach, starting with the coaches, putting a plan together, and then everybody in that locker room. We need all players, all coaches, all staff, all hands on deck.
So one of my things that I have a problem with this is he says, well, it's the playoffs. We got to go into it, and it starts with me, and we got to really work hard. And that game stunk today. Dude, 2 weeks ago, I go back to what Devontae Smith said after the win against the New York Giants. 2 weeks ago, they beat the Giants, and Devontae Smith is saying himself, yeah, we got 2 weeks to figure this out, and you've lost the last 2 games. And so I got to hear Nick Sirianni say, well, we have a week to try to get this figured out. Dude, you've had actually a month and a half to try to get this figured out, and you've had absolutely zero answers. There has not been a single thing that the Eagles have done post-49ers loss that you have been able to and say, this is good, this is what they should build off of, this is what the identity of the team should be, and this is what's going to help them fix the ship, right the ship, and go into the playoffs. There's been nothing. All right, next.
When things have gone, do you think players still should have faith in you?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask them that. As far as, we're obviously, we've lost 5 of our last 6. That doesn't discredit the rest of the season. You can ask them that question.
Yes, it does. I'm sorry. It does discredit the rest of the season. You don't go from 10-1 to 11-6 and still celebrate the fact that you were 10-1 at one point. That goes out the window. You have lost that. We have held on to it. We have tried to say they were 10-1 at one point. There is talent on offense. But you are now all of a sudden 11-6. You've lost 5 out of your last 6 games. And you mean to tell me that you still believe that players have your back? I know he's not going to say the opposite. But maybe you do something of, hey, we'll show it next week. I will prove to you next week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know you don't want to give bulletin board material. Say something where you say, we're going to show you next week that the guys still have my back and I have their backs. Point out that A.J. Brown had your back the other day. Or was that all a lie? Was that all a facade going into a final regular season game in which the rest of the team, that's the response they had, not showing up? Next.
Nick, what are you seeing as some of the issues on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, obviously today was a little bit different as far as, gave up some passing yards today, I thought, and so we'll have to obviously watch that tape.
All right, you don't have to watch squat. All right, so here's the deal. This clip continues, right? I'm breaking this down a couple of different times. This was a little bit different. We have to watch some tape. We gave up some passing yards. My man, you've been giving up passing yards all season long. All season long. Going back to Mac Jones, week 1. You've been giving up passing yards all season long. You have found ways to get past that earlier in the year. Remember the bend but don't break with the defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, that actually wasn't the problem. Then you make the change to Matt Patricia. We'll get to that coming up in a little bit. But what do you mean you have to watch the tape? Every single play, somebody is just wide open. Once again, this tells me that you have no answers. The fact that you have to go back and watch the tape to tell me, oh, it's a little bit different. Because what is different is last week they gave up a lot of rushing yards. This week was a lot of passing yards. Dude, they love going back to, well, it worked in the past, right? When plays don't work, play calls don't work offensively, they love bringing up how it's worked in the past. Dude, this has been an issue all season long. Just admit it. What's next?
But he got out of the pocket a couple times, made it, there was some guys open on some different things. And so the issues today were a little bit different than the issues last week.
What's different? What's different? Okay, last week was a rushing attack that beat you. Forget last week for a second, Nick. Seriously, forget last week for a second. Go back 2 weeks ago then, when the Giants once again almost beat you in the air with Tyrod Taylor when he came in the second half. I'm not joking when I say if Tyrod Taylor played that entire game, you might have lost that game, just like you did yesterday. The week before that, Seattle, Drew Lock goes downfield, 90 yards. It's easy for CeeDee Lamb. It's easy for Brock Purdy. Deebo Samuel's breaking tackles left and right, and you're talking about how this week's issue is not the same as last week's. All right, fine. It was the issues for the previous 5 weeks. Now, one of the other issues is third downs. And something I want to point out. Nick Sirianni, if there's anything that could really get him fired, if it is true that he was the one that made the decision to move on from Sean Desai and put in Matt Patricia, it was solely his decision, Well, that's what he tells you in this clip from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I made the decision. I did what I thought I needed to do in the best interest of the football team. I didn't feel like, we made some adjustments there. I didn't feel like we were playing well enough and coaching well enough on defense, so I made an adjustment, and it was my decision, and that's what I did.
When did you make that?
When did I make it? Yeah, I made it sometime in the middle of the week, right when game planning was going on. I don't remember exactly what day it was. It was a tough decision to be able to do this. But again, like I said, I did what I felt like was best for our football team.
You've made your football team worse. You have made your football team worse. And Nick Sirianni, as a man, should walk to Sean Desai's office today, knock on his door, shake his hand, and apologize. Honestly. I'm not saying that for radio fodder. That's serious. Nick Sirianni, as a man, should walk down to that office, knock on the door, look him in the eyes, and say, my bad. You always talk about how it starts with me in the press conferences. Why don't you say it's my bad to the coach? Ever since that decision was made, and the first decision wasn't just Matt Patricia taking over as defensive coordinator. The first decision that Nick Sirianni made was stripping Sean Desai of the ability to game plan for third downs. Think about this for a second. Jeff McClain wrote a story on it and spoke with sources. He actually speaks with sources, okay? And I'm guessing that source may have been the former defensive coordinator. It wouldn't surprise me. They stripped Sean Desai of game planning for third downs after the Kansas City Chiefs game. What happened against the Bills? Now, they won that game against the Bills. What happened against the Bills? What happened against the 49ers? What happened against the Cowboys? Then Matt Patricia takes over. And since Matt Patricia has taken over as DC or whatever his title is, everything across the board defensively for the Eagles, whether it's just normal stats or the deep stats, opposing team efficiency, has dropped to the bottom of the league, or bottom two, or bottom three. It wasn't great before the change, but my God, does Sean Desai deserve something from this Eagles team, especially an apology, because he kept this team actually afloat. It has gotten worse ever since Matt Patricia has taken over, ever since Nick Sirianni got more involved with the defense. It's gotten worse. What's the next clip we got, Ray?
Obviously we got to get it corrected fast, and go out there and play a game. Like I said, we're going to move on. We're going to watch this game, get better from this game, and move on to Tampa Bay.
How are you going to get better from it? That's my quick response. How do you get better? Like, what are you watching from this film where you're going, oh, that's what we got to work on, and we'll get this one better. What else do we have?
You pulled Jalen and you pulled Lane and Jason before the first half was over. Obviously, the game wasn't going your way, but you still had a full half to go. What went into that decision?
Yeah, when we went down 24-0, I thought, that it wasn't obviously going the way we wanted it to go, and wanted to get a chance to rest some guys. We, like I told you guys, we went out there to play and to try to get ourselves going, and also not knowing what was going to happen in the other game. So obviously I was doing a little bit of scoreboard watching, and I think that at that time the Dallas game was close, but our game was three-score game, and we hadn't moved it very, very well, and they were up 24-0, and that's why I had to make that decision at that point.
So he's admitting it. This wasn't just about rest. He benched the players. He benched the players, as he should have. They should have played to begin with. And you lost Sidney Brown for the season, and who knows what happens with A.J. Brown. Hopefully, he's back on Monday against the Buccaneers if you want to have a remote chance of winning. But he admitted that he himself was going to be scoreboard watching. You don't think there was another player, maybe on the Eagles, out of 53 guys that also wasn't scoreboard watching? I don't think this team was fully engaged yesterday. And once again, that starts up top. I don't know what his message was going into the week. I don't know if he lied to them and said, hey, we're going to go balls to the wall this week. I don't know. But it starts up top, and even he was going to that game scoreboard watching. And he admitted that to you just now. What else do we have?
Would you give Jalen enough answers versus the blitz, knowing that Wink was going to put you on?
Obviously we didn't do well enough there. So anytime it doesn't go well enough, then that's going to be on me. And so no, the answer to that is no. We didn't do a good enough job, and that starts with me.
Yeah, it does start with you. And it, like, what's going to change? You know what the Buccaneers are going to do? They're going to blitz. They're going to blitz a lot. This has actually been an issue for the Eagles all season long. You knew going up against Wink Martindale that he was going to bring pressure. You played him 2 weeks ago, and you weren't prepared at all. Now, do me a favor. I know we're running out of time. Try to find the last two I really want to play. One of them was about flipping the switch, if you can find that one, Ray. Zach Berman asked about whether or not you could flip the switch, and we'll play his response, and then I got to play you what Fletcher Cox had to say. We'll get that to you momentarily, because one of the things we keep on talking about is, all right, can they all of a sudden get together come playoff time and flip the switch, and all of a sudden they're going to look like that team that was 10-1. We talked about during the pregame show yesterday. Can you find a bunch of the positive things that happened earlier this season that they can build off of, that they can get better with, and all of a sudden they can turn the season around? Here's the switch conversation.
Switch couldn't be flipped last week given the stakes, and this week in the discussion. What makes you think it can be flipped next week?
Because you believe in the guys in that locker room, you believe in the coaches, you believe in the players, and we got a lot of good players that I know will give everything they got. We got a lot of players that know what it takes to get to the top. We got a lot of guys in that locker room who know how to win playoff games. We got a lot of coaches who know how to win playoff games, and that's what makes you confident is that.
All right, they have a lot of guys that believe in themselves and believe in the coaches and blah 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 blah. It's one thing for Nick Sirianni to say that, and I think just kind of say it hopefully. Take a listen to what Fletcher Cox said, who didn't play yesterday, about some of his teammates.
We got guys in this locker room that make millions and millions of dollars. It shouldn't be a question about their mindset. They're focused on going into the postseason. There's nothing to worry about anybody's character, no player's effort, or anything like that. So I think, the feeling I'm getting from this team is very scary right now. Obviously everybody's sad. We just got beat up, pretty good by a really bad football team. Let's just say that.
The feeling I get from this football team is very scary. When a captain, a historic Eagle, Super Bowl champion, a guy who just a couple of weeks ago said, we'll see what this team is made of when we take on the Seahawks. A guy who didn't even play yesterday comes out and says this team, the way this team is playing, the way this team is right now, is scary to him. That's all I need to know when a player's saying that. Last but not least, I can't believe Nick Sirianni has to fall on this.
So how does that belief stay there from your perspective? Because you've won a lot, you've been through the stretches. What do you see now, losing 5 of 6, that keeps that belief for you?
Yeah, none of us are quitters. We all get up off the mat when we're down, and we get up and we keep going. When you get hit in life, when you get hit in football, you got two options. You can stay down, or you can get the F up. And I know this group is fighters. I know this group will get up. I know that we've all been through things in our life that we've all had to deal with, and we know how to get up.
He has no answers. No answers. That he had to quote a movie.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
He had to fall back to Rocky. This dude has no answers. And that's just terrible when they were once 10-1. All right, more reactions to the Eagles' downfall coming up next. Would love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. You heard a clip Ray played during his Eagles Birds, the Birds update from Tim McManus during the postgame show yesterday. That was pretty damning. Going to play it next, and we'll react to it. And calls right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, not that they had that great of a weekend, but that's okay. You want to win tickets to a Sixers game? Because I had so much fun. I was actually at the game Friday night. Got beat up by the Knicks a little bit, but that place is still awesome. The center's great. Everything that goes into the game is awesome. And then you're watching Joel Embiid and just hopefully a better performance by the rest of the team. Join me and our friends from Corona at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken on Friday from 7 to 9. I absolutely love the Great American Pub. It's so much fun there in Conchi. I went there many times when I was living there, when living in Manayunk. We'll take the train up to Conchi, have a lot of fun there. And we'll be doing this before the Sixers take on the Kings. You'll be able to enjoy $5 Modelo pints and get hyped up with our crew, win great prizes, including tickets to an upcoming Sixers game, and I'll be having some beers with you. Hanging out, we'll talk some Sixers. I did that there in the city not too long ago. It was nice. A lot of people were fired up. People loved the bucket hats. There were Sixers Corona bucket hats. Ray got one. I mean, it was a lot of fun. So don't miss out on a great time with Corona at the Great American Pub in Conchi. It's 97.5 The Fanatic Sixers pregame party at the Great American Pub located on Fayette Street in Conshohocken. Corona is an official partner of the Philadelphia 76ers. The Phila Cerveza. For details, go to the events page on 975thefanatic.com.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Still reacting to that disaster. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Pennsylvania Health Insurance Exchange Marketplace. Get the lowest costs on high-quality health coverage now through Penny PA's Health Insurance Marketplace. So you're worth protecting. Enroll by January 19th at penny.com. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars. The Eagles flat out stunk on Sunday. They got crushed by the New York Giants on Sunday as they found a new rock bottom in a 6-week-long stretch that was filled with quite a few of them, as the Eagles have lost 5 of 6 games. The final score of 27-10 is too kind to the disaster that it was. The Eagles starters trailed 24-0 before halftime, and then many of them got benched before halftime. On top of that, A.J. Brown, Sidney Brown, Cam Jurgens, Reed Blankenship, and Jalen Hurts all were banged up in the game. The Birds now head to Tampa Bay next Monday night for the playoff wild card round as they take on the Buccaneers to open up and potentially close playoff play for them this season. Today at 4 o'clock, ESPN's Tim McManus will join the best show ever in studio live for an hour to talk all things Birds. The Flyers finally won again. Local hockey club snapped its losing skid with a 3-2 win over the Calgary Flames on Saturday. Travis Konecny scored a shorthanded goal in the third period to put the Flyers ahead. Flyers and Penguins tonight, 7 o'clock right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And the Sixers have lost 2 games since we last spoke, back in action on Wednesday night. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn on the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia Flyers play here. Coming up tonight, Tim Saunders has the play-by-play. Your home for the Flyers is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey, it's number 59, Seth Joyner. Join me on the BetParx Sportsbook app, and you're in the zone. BetParx is the official casino and sportsbook app of the real Philly fan and the only app I recommend. Bet more than the score. Bet player performances like total passing and rushing yards. Bet total team touchdowns. Bet who scores a touchdown. And nobody does live in-game betting better than BetParx. Bet on the action as it happens. Join me right now and download the BetParx Casino and Sportsbook app. New customers make a winning $10 bet and get $125 in bonus sportsbook bets back. Must be a winning bet, and bonus bets must be wagered once. The BetParx Sportsbook is the only sports betting app that I recommend. Live betting, parlays, props, teasers, they have it all. Like me, I'm sure that you love to play, you love to win. You bet. BetParx.
Must be 21 in NPA, New Jersey, Ohio, Maryland. Number 1-800-GAMBLER.
This week's Pro to Watch is brought to you by Bradford White. Bradford White water heaters are built to be the best. You know, after some late season struggles, the only chance Philly has to advance in the playoffs is by winning critical games. And they're going to need their star quarterback, Jalen Hurts, to play a
Let's go back to the phones. Talk to Clinton. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Clinton?
Yeah, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm that Vikings fan from I think a week ago, but I am an Eagles hater, and I'm coming in here with a fresh perspective. I think that you hit it on the head like a while ago. You said that this defense just isn't good enough, but like I'm here to like point holes at like different looking at as Eagles fans. I think that Nick Sirianni is just like not the coach for the future. I mean, like he doesn't call plays. What does he do? He sits there and just hypes people up. You guys need a different coach. If Jim Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin, who might for some reason get fired, if they were coaching this team, they're probably the number one seed.
Well, that's the one thing, right? So you go Nick Sirianni, what does he do? And then Mike Tomlin. Well, Mike Tomlin doesn't call plays on either side of the ball either. But which I don't like. I don't need my head coach. Huh?
Right. Good.
I don't need my head coach calling plays. I'm being completely honest with you. I don't. But he needs to make sure everything else is in line. And one of those things, like one of your job titles, is to have the locker room still together. And clearly they're not. 5 out of the last 6 weeks, you lost the game. I don't think the locker room was in shambles, and that's why you lost to the 49ers. I don't think the locker room was in shambles, and that's why you lost to the Cowboys. But once you lose to the Seahawks, once you barely beat the Giants, once you lose to the Cardinals, they're checked out.
Right. But look, I don't think that I'm going to say this. I don't think that Nick Sirianni knows as much as a Jim Harbaugh or a Mike Tomlin would. And I'm using those names because the Eagles need defense. The Eagles need to build around defense, which you haven't done for I don't know how long since maybe like Brian. Like you need to build around. Like you have a Hall of Fame offensive line. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, for crying out loud. You need that defense to help them. You shouldn't have your offense covering up for your defensive like your flaws. And I'm really gonna say like I don't think that Jalen Hurts, like he's not a guy who can throw the ball 40 times a game. Like, if he throws the ball 40 times a game, he's going to get picked off, like, 4 times. Because if you traded Jalen Hurts for Jared Goff, like, do you think you're a worse team? I think you're a better team. If you had Jared Goff or, like, Joe Burrow or someone who could actually, like, throw the ball.
Well, look, Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts are in a class of their own. Thanks for the call, Clinton. I don't know if I'm about to all of a sudden start singing the praises of Jared Goff, who – had a very good season. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Detroit Lions are a 3 seed. I'm not all of a sudden about to say Jared Goff coming in here would be better than Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to go there. I don't think Jalen Hurts throwing the ball 40 times is going to throw 4 picks a game. That's not going to happen. But I do agree with you. I'm not a Jalen Hurts drop back 50 times guy. I know it sounds archaic, the whole run the ball thing. But you know what? I would rather a traditional run than a bubble screen or a wide receiver screen, because Brian Johnson himself says it. Well, those short passes are a part of our running game. It's a part of our running game. Those short passes. They don't work. I love that he ran that play for Marcus Mariota's first attempt yesterday. I love it. And I'm telling you, I think the sick, twisted mind that I have goes too far sometimes. But, Ray, I feel like Brian Johnson called that play. Not to let's get a quick pass in, get Mariota comfortable. The sick, twisted mind in me goes, he probably called that play to be like, I wonder if Marcus ran. Maybe the tendency is a little bit better. And we get a big play out of it. And I could say, see, this play works. And he throws a pick right away. That's how down I am.
I love your cynical mind on this one. I do. I appreciate it. I don't know if
Coaches love to prove people wrong.
Well, yeah, obviously the first defensive play of the game, Hassan Reddick's in coverage.
Drop back in coverage, first play.
Oh, I'll show you. Made a big deal of the 7 times he was in coverage last week. The first play of the game, he'll be in one. And oh, by the way, how'd that work out for you?
And then Nolan Smith later.
Yeah, this is, I can't stop banging this drum. Like, really, when it comes to the conversation about Nolan Smith being an off-ball linebacker. Because that was something, without depth, maybe they'll slide Nolan Smith in there. We're going to give Nolan Smith a shot here. Now with the way they're deploying Hassan Reddick, maybe they're going to continue to deploy Nolan Smith in that way. It doesn't work. The reason his comp for Hassan Reddick was so great before the draft is because they both do the same thing really, really well. They also do the other thing that they don't do really well, and that's coverage. Why are we bothering with this? And honestly, I keep coming back to I said it when you first came to me about I'm not going to break it down too much different. To me, breaking down the game feels so off the point of today's show.
Yeah.
Everything they do that's wrong, we could talk about that for hours at end. There's so much more wrong with this team than what's happening on the field right now.
No, for the first time, I'm thinking future. And, the only reason why I'm not really diving much deeper into it is that there is still a playoff game. I can't.
Unfortunately.
I know. But I can't sit here today and go, all right, one of our first callers, he didn't get to that point, but, I have the comment section in front of me, and he was going to talk about, all right, what other coaches could have been here that would have changed the result yesterday? Our previous caller talked about, what if Mike Tomlin was the head coach of the Eagles this year? What would be going on? I'm not doing that right now. That time will come. There's still a playoff game. But for the first time all season long, I was thinking about bigger picture future and things changing. There's going to be drastic overhaul with this team if they end up losing to the Buccaneers. Nick Sirianni's job will 100% be on the line. Will they ultimately fire him? I'm not sure, but it doesn't look good. I mean, if you go out there and you show, I don't want to say no effort, but you show you have no life, then there's a very good chance that he's gone. But Brian Johnson, bye. You already demoted Sean Desai, and you're not keeping Patricia. There's going to be a new defensive coordinator here. You can't go back. I say Nick Sirianni as a man should go to Sean Desai's office today and apologize to him. There's no way they go back to his office and say, but hey, do you want to still be defensive coordinator next year? I'd say, screw you guys. I'm out of here.
I don't think he has to say that. I think everyone's got that understanding. Once you demote him, there's no going back to him.
No, absolutely not.
But what you said about beating the Buccaneers, or losing the Buccaneers, I'm kind of curious what that changes.
Right, because if they beat the Buccaneers 15-7,
right,
and then get obliterated by the 49ers or the Cowboys, then the conversation never really changed. But it's at a point right now where you're talking about coaches, and then you're talking about players. Jason Kelsey want to come back to this? Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox is talking about players being he's scared about the state of the players right now. He wants to come back to this. The vets that we know and love, wait until a player requests a trade. I know it's not like the NBA where it's as crazy as trade requests, but you just wait. Man, I keep on thinking about what my dad said a couple weeks ago, that this team looks like a team that is getting old fast. We were talking about potential D word, man.
Messaging got old fast.
Messaging got old real fast. Really quick. I mean, he resorted to Rocky. He did the whole, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and how you get up. And it hurts in his press conference yesterday. Did you listen to, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't.
No. I saw the quotes being tweeted out, and I was like, I am not listening to this.
He had a Rocky line, too. Just not the same. He said, if you get knocked down 5 times, it's about
I did see this.
Getting up the 6th time. I hate that.
This group has continued to preach the same things week after week without giving you any reason to believe they've learned from it. It is like your screw-up friend that continues to make the same mistake, and you're like, hey, probably should stop doing that. And they keep doing it, and it's, don't worry, I'll be fine. No, I'm going to figure it out. It's like, no, you can't just figure it out. You got to actually go take steps to figuring it out, making something happen. It's so annoying to listen to this team week, and that's part of the reason why I didn't sit there and listen with every second to the Hurts press conference yesterday, because I knew today I would come in, listen to a couple clips of it, get us ready for the show. But I can't really listen to these guys talk anymore because it's the most infuriating thing in the world. Give me the answers on the field, because your answers off the field run totally counter to what's happening on the field. It's so obnoxious to hear the same repetitive message and get the same repetitive poor results.
We got one different message. I was saving to play this later. We had one different message from Dallas Goedert, tight end of your Philadelphia Eagles. So we ripped a former Eagle last week. An Eagle that we love, in Deshaun Jackson. Now, Deshaun gave 6 different answers to one question, but at one point, he said that the Eagles were losing on purpose, almost. Keep everybody on their toes. Here's Dallas Goedert after the game yesterday, giving his take on the woes of the Eagles.
We had a long season last year, and I just know everybody in this locker room is ready to go to work for the playoffs. And ever since 4 or 5 weeks ago when we clinched the playoffs, I think everybody's just been waiting for the playoffs. So not something that is a great thing, but I think everybody's going to be ready to go, and I think we're going to show the world what we're capable of.
If that is true, what he just said. If what he said is true, that everybody kind of knew we were already in the playoffs. And so what? You're implying that you took you stopped trying as hard, right? Played at a different speed, just wanted to get to the playoffs. Then shame on every single member of the Philadelphia Eagles. Because you know what taking your foot off the gas pedal did? You lost the 1 seed. You lost the division. You're now the 5 seed. And there is no such thing in sports as flipping the switch. I know that is something that is asked all the time. There was Zach Berman asked it to Sirianni during yesterday's press conference. Do you believe you can flip the switch? A switch doesn't just get flipped. You need something to happen to maybe spark the team. There has been no spark. You dipped your match in water, and you're trying to light it again. It is dead. It's not working anymore. This season is over, okay? Now it's time for the playoffs. And you're implying that maybe everybody just had in the back of their mind the fact that you were already in the playoffs? This isn't the NBA. Seeding does matter a little bit more in this league. Having a bye week would be nice. Home field advantage would be nice. Setting up matchups that benefit you in the future is nice. Not having to play potentially the Niners or the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game is better than the divisional round of the playoffs, especially a Niners team if you're playing them in the second round coming off of their own bye, coming off of a week in which they rested their starters. That's ridiculous if that's true. Let's go to Glenn in Wallingford. Glenn, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
What's up, man?
Hey, listen, I've been out of town for the last couple of weeks, so I was able to miss all the local, doom and gloom. But I guess I'm getting it, tenfold now, right? Because it's only gotten from bad to worse. So the only thing that was good this weekend was watching Ray's Twitter updates going from airport to airport this weekend, which was fun to watch. So trying to get where he was in Oklahoma somewhere. I forget where he was. But anyway. But anyway, hey, listen, the end of the day, I thought when they, and I know you guys touched on it, but this is not revisionist history for me. When they made the decision to change play callers, right? Bad organizations rush to make these haste decisions in the middle of the season. And when they made that decision, I was just like, I never thought it would get this bad, but I thought it was a horrible decision.
I did not like the move because it made Sean Desai look like it was his fault that the Eagles' defense wasn't all that great. The personnel wasn't great. The only thing I held on to, Glenn, was, all right, so you went to a guy with a little bit more pedigree. Maybe he just calls blitzes at different times. Maybe he just calls coverages at different times based off of his experience in the NFL. Maybe that's the one thing that can maybe help a bad defense get slightly better. But no, Glenn, it hasn't even gotten slightly worse. I mean, this is a disaster.
And the fact that you ended up having a guy, like if you wanted to keep him as like, again, like an assistant, just to like an advisor, Patricia I'm talking about now, which is fine. A guy can have a job. But to give this guy an important job like this, where this guy was, he was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots last year. Let's not,
that was like almost like what the Eagles did with the offensive line coach Juan Castillo. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much what Belichick tried doing.
Exactly. So I'm like thinking to myself, what are they doing here? And there's other little things. And I think one of your callers earlier, Titan, kind of touched based on it. He's like, when the players lose faith in the coaches, right? And then all of a sudden, he starts second guessing. Then he starts second guessing each other. Is this guy going to be in the right place? Is that so I don't get exposed? Then he starts second guessing themselves. I mean, when was the last time you really saw?
Well, we just heard a couple weeks ago, Glenn, and thanks for the call. Jeff McClain was on this show and told me that Josh Sweat kind of said, without saying, that some guys weren't necessarily playing to the scheme, but playing maybe more so for themselves. And that's exactly to your point, Glenn, that maybe some guys are like, well, I don't want to get exposed. So, maybe I don't agree with the scheme, so I'm going to try to do whatever I can to make myself look better. And that's a problem. It's a major problem. Good for Glenn for being away for like a week and a half and not having to live through this. It has not been fun. It has not been fun. Trust me. I had a tweet yesterday from Coldest Trayer 1, who has just followed up. He tweeted at me yesterday during the game, I'm convinced they're just trying to get to the playoffs and then play like the real Eagles. In which I responded, please share whatever you're smoking. I would have appreciated being happy and relaxed like Coldest Trayer yesterday. And he just followed up. Listen to the show. I appreciate it. I told you, Chunas, you heard Dallas. Brother, if you are right, if Dallas Goedert is right, then I don't know. I'm going to have to come up with one of those radio bets. Right? I'll do this if the Eagles go on a run. I'll have to come up with something. I just don't see any of that happening, dude. I appreciate your optimism. I really do. I had another guy. He was tweeting at me during the pregame show. Not malicious or anything. Neither was Coldest Trayer, but there's a guy that tweeted at me yesterday. So we were talking about the game itself, and we were not looking forward to it. None of us were looking forward to the game. Because if you wanted them to not play the player, I was not looking forward to it in case somebody got hurt. I wasn't even thinking, man, but what if they go out there and don't look good? That wasn't even one of my points, right? I just thought there was nothing to gain from it, and God forbid an injury happened. And if you did want the starters to play, you even can admit, Ray, there wasn't anything that you were going to grab onto if they played well that you would say this is going to work come playoff time.
No, strictly a game for them.
So nobody was really looking forward to that game on the pregame show yesterday. We had a guy that tweeted in. He was like, I disagree with you guys. It's Eagles football. I always look forward to Eagles games. I look forward to this game as much as I will the next game, which is the playoffs. And there's no way he looked forward to yesterday's game as much as he did like the lead up to the 49ers game, right? There's no way. And if he truly feels that way, then good for him. That must be number one Eagles fan. Because I had zero interest, zero excitement for yesterday's game. I just wanted it to end. And this was before I knew what the result was. I just wanted it to end. Get to the playoffs. And they're in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. Do I think that I've ever been less excited for a playoff game in my life? I have to do a lot of soul searching on that question, but certainly feels like this morning.
I'm trying to think. Look, I know a lot of people will not admit it, but when the Eagles lost to the Cowboys 6-0 the year of the Super Bowl, people were in a bad place to the point where I was fielding calls. I was producing at the time. Nate Sudfeld.
Oh, yeah.
He's your only hope. And we all thought at the same time that the Rams, because they were the hot Rams, we thought the Rams would beat the Falcons and then the Eagles would take on the Rams. Instead, that did change a lot when the Falcons won. It changed for me. I thought the Eagles were going to lose in the first round to the Rams back then. Mm-hmm. I did. Yeah, honest with you. I thought they were going to lose to the Rams. Instead, the Falcons won, and I was like, all right, they have a chance. And then they get out of the Falcons game, and then, obviously when you win 38-7, I felt good going into the Super Bowl because the vibes were high. I'm not as down, or I'm more down now than I was then because they've spiraled out of control here. But I don't think the majority of Eagles fans were truly fired up going into that playoff run.
Yeah, but like you said,
it wasn't as bad as this.
You can't even compare vibes, I think. Like I'm really trying to think, and this is again my young naive self going through it here because some people are out there, oh, we've had it worse, it's been worse, things have happened, and I'm sure you can go through. Like we were talking before the show today, and I heard it on the morning show, and I'm sure we're going to hear it all throughout the week from people who lived through the end of the Kotite era and the 7-2 to 7-9, and people with how disastrous they felt there. There's still a playoff game to go. Like they're still they're going to go play Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, a Buccaneers team that scored 9 points against a horrid Carolina Panthers team that if you want to talk about ready for a season to end, that organization has been beyond ready for that season to end.
Yeah.
And we are concerned about how the Eagles are going to fare against a team that only mustered up 9 points against that Carolina team in a game they had to have. They had to have that game. They needed to win that football game. They did not look good. I was a sicko that had watched the 1 o'clock window. I got home. My weekend of travel ended. I sat down. I had Red Zone on. I was popping the second screen to keep an eye on some things. And I went through that entire one. That Buccaneers team didn't look good at all. And you know what? I don't even care.
No, you don't, because then you know what happens the next round. And unfortunately, like I said last week, that come what I thought would be Friday on a football Friday, because I was hoping the Eagles would be playing Saturday or Sunday. Instead, we have to wait an extra day, and they're going to be playing Monday night. You know, I was talking about, all right, that I'll flip the switch that day and, get fired up for a playoff game. I don't know if I can do that on Monday. I really don't.
We keep trying
Unless
to flip
something
the switch
drastic
for 'em.
happens. Yeah, I know, exactly.
That's like at some point, like we continue to, you know what? Let's figure it out. Like this week, you didn't have that moment because you didn't want to see the starters, you didn't want to see the team play. And frankly, I said, as much as I was hoping that something clicked with them, there wasn't a ton that was going to inspire confidence for me. We tried before the Cardinals. Hey, Gannon's in town. They got to beat Gannon. The Giants game. A bad Seattle game.
Hell, the players told you.
Well, yeah,
we want to. Stick it to Jonathan Gannon. The players said it themselves.
They have.
And then they didn't. And it was the defense that wanted to stick it to Gannon, and the defense didn't force a single punt. By the way, per Tom Pelissaro, if you're looking for any good news, Jalen Hurts underwent X-rays, no fracture in the dislocated middle finger.
That's good.
I meant it when I tweeted it out yesterday. The second A.J. Brown goes down, Jalen Hurts should have come out. I had Jalen Hurts throwing to Julio Jones, Quez Watkins, and Olamide Zaccheaus in a game in which the offensive line wasn't getting a single stop, and not just the O-line, because there was no protection. They were just blitzing every play.
No answer for it.
And you kept them out there. I thought that was malpractice. Let's go to Joe in South Philly. Joe, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, Andrew? How you doing, pal?
How you doing?
All right, man. So we're all in the same boat here. I'm sick and tired of Sirianni saying the same thing. To be honest with you, we lost the team. We have no heart. They're playing horrible. Can't tackle. They can't do nothing. I think it's time to clear house. I think he lost the locker room. To be honest with you, bud.
Yeah, he may have. Now you're not going to do it going into the playoffs.
No. I'm not saying that. Definitely not saying that. I'm saying at the end of the season, because I don't even think we beat Tampa Bay. I hate to say it.
Well, and that's the thing. So this will be your ultimate answer,
right?
On Monday, if they put out a lackluster performance, and let's say even with a win, man, they only win because of talent alone, which is what we were kind of talking about last week.
Right?
Because they should win based off of talent alone. But if they go out there and show a lackluster performance like they've had over the last 6 weeks. Yeah. That's the answer. I mean, it's a playoff game, and they're not getting up for it. That would be your answer on Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, you could just see the way they're walking around. They ain't even hustling on the field. There's no chemistry. There's no he keeps saying the same thing because he don't have an answer. It's a shame. It's a real shame.
Well, yeah, and I love the questions. I believe it was Jeff McClain. I forget if he asked Sirianni this or if he asked Jalen Hurts this, but I know they were both asked about the pressure from the blitz and not having an answer to it. And Sirianni just straight up said, it starts with me, blah, blah. You just played the Giants 2 weeks ago, man.
Right. You keep saying the same thing, we're going to get knocked out. You've been saying it for 5 weeks. You can't make no changes because you lost the locker room. You lost the heart of the team. The guys don't want to play. It's a shame. It really is, because the talent we got, we shouldn't even be in this situation.
No, I mean, the talent that you got you to 10-1, right? It got them to 10-1, and thanks for the call, Joe. It got them to 10-1. There was only, the Dolphins game that you felt really good about, team-wise, in that 10-1 stretch, right? Obviously, the Chiefs game was a nice win. The Bills game was a nice win, but the defense was a disaster in that game, right? And the offense was horrible in the first half. I'm saying start to finish, a game in which you felt good at both sides of the ball, The only one was the Dolphins one. The other 9 wins, you won based off of talent alone at times. You out-talented your opposition. You had more talent than the Patriots. You had more talent than the Vikings. You had more talent than the Buccaneers in week 3. You're going to play them in the playoffs. With all this talent, if they were able to find a couple of answers a month ago, we're singing a different tune going into the playoffs. The problem is, to Joe's point, they keep saying the same thing. Well, they keep also doing the same thing. It's the same play calls on offense. It's the same issues on defense. Now, a lot of it is personnel. I didn't think the defense was all of a sudden going to get drastically better, but one of the things that I had been asking for over the last couple of weeks was the ability to make a play here and there. And by play, I mean game-changing play. I'm not talking about bringing blitzes every single time. I'm talking about disguising something where maybe you make a quarterback roll out and then the quarterback makes a mistake with a throw downfield, which leads to an interception. You need 1 or 2 plays to win games sometimes. I bring you back to the Super Bowl. It was a forced fumble on Brady. That was it. That was the only play they made on defense the entire game. Now, if you don't want to go as far back as the Super Bowl, I'll take you back to the Bills game. When the Eagles had to come from behind and win, there was 2 plays. There was a James Bradbury interception, in which he made on his own, by the way. That was not schemed up. He left his receiver. He read the eyes of Josh Allen and made the play himself. And then BG had a big sack. 2 plays was all it took to beat the Bills that week. There hasn't been a play made by a defensive player in the last 6 weeks, other than Sidney Brown, who basically returned a punt because there was miscommunication between Kyler Murray and the receiver. Over the last 6 weeks, name a play or a single moment on defense. You can't. There's not been a single moment on defense where you go, all right, that is a good play that was designed by the coaching staff. Sometimes it does come down to the coaching staff. Sometimes it comes down to the players. The defense has gotten so much worse, statistically, and with your own freaking eyes, ever since Patricia took over. Now you have something from Adam Schefter. All right, we'll get it later on. But apparently, Adam Schefter was asked about the job security of Nick Sirianni. Was this on ESPN? All right, we'll play that coming up later on in the show, probably in the 12 o'clock hour. Let's go to Roddy in Philly. Roddy, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, my point with the Eagles this year goes back to the Super Bowl and not being able to change when our down linemen on defense are not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. And I think it shows everything that's wrong with the coaching of this team, that they, that the safeties and the defensive backfield isn't great. So you have to you have to pressure the quarterback in that situation. And I just don't understand why we don't see more of that. And, it's kind of like, you keep doing the same thing. It's like the wide receiver screen on offense. And so that it makes me think that Sirianni is the problem.
It might be. Now the question about bringing pressure and all that kind of stuff, they've tried that before.
Not really. I mean,
I go back. There are not. If you go back to the 49ers game, they blitzed, I think, 12 times, and Brock Purdy was 11 of 12, something like that. Like it was it was easy. Because here's the deal: you're talking about bringing pressure, and I agree with you. I would like to see more timely blitzes, but who are you throwing at the quarterback? You're not throwing talented defensive players.
Yeah, but I haven't seen a cornerback or a safety blitz, I think, all year. I mean, maybe extra linebackers on occasion, but that's showing, hey, we're coming, and they can read that and adjust to that easily. But a guy coming in off the outside, it just doesn't feel like a Buddy Ryan defense.
Well,
I think
Buddy Ryan never won.
Yeah, Well, he didn't win playoff games, yes, but
Yeah.
the defense was crazy.
Okay.
And it's just
The defense also had Reggie White and Eric Allen.
No
and,
question, but the down linemen are good.
we're talking about you're talking about Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, two guys that haven't done anything. Josh Sweat has not had a sack since week 11, man.
I know, but that's what but I think if you just keep rushing 4, and that's it, which it feels like that's what they've been doing this year. Maybe in the 49ers game it was different. They have
tried.
It was so bad I stopped watching.
Yeah, I know, man. It's been bad. I appreciate the call. They tried blitzing. Blitzing hasn't worked. They don't have the personnel to really blitz. There have been times where they have brought pressure. I remember Nicholas Moreau at one point had 3 sacks in a game this season. You know what also happened that game? The Commanders put up 31 points. There's just lack of talent. The biggest issue for me with this defense, whether it's Patricia or even Sean Desai. I know Sean Desai, I believe, is a scapegoat in all this. One of my issues with Sean Desai, too, was playing Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, the amount of snaps they had been playing this season. They look cooked. That's also part of the reason why they're not getting to the quarterback. They've played so many snaps this year. So many snaps. And those are your 2 players that you hope that can do something and make an impact. Bringing Nicholas Moreau, Zach Cunningham, Nakobe Dean when he was healthy, Ben Van Sumeren, Van Halen, it doesn't matter. These guys aren't very talented. But we already know that. And so what the defense is trying to do is, all right, let's sag off. Let's not allow a big play. But you know what the big play can still be? It doesn't have to be 50 yards downfield. It could be 10 yards when there's a guy wide open and then gets 20 yards with his legs. I apologize, Ray. I've been so caught up in my emotions. I was supposed to break at 11:41. It is 12:01, and I still have not hit the break. And I've never done that before. Now, I do believe part of it is our pregame clocks are different. It's 23 and 53. And can I be honest with you? When it was around 11:50, I was like, wait. Do I break at 53? Oh, wait, no, because the clock is 11:50 to 12:11. I thought I just came back from break. I've just been nonstop talking and angry. So we'll hit a break in a couple minutes because I'm trying to do the radio voice inside me is trying to spin and do the math and how I should do things.
Sounds like a plan. So this team has done wonders to all of us and all of our brains.
I'm controlling the clock like the Cardinals 2 weeks ago. That's basically what I'm doing at this point. I've never done this before. I've never flew through a break like that. I didn't even think about it.
Again, this is where the team's got you.
Oh, my God.
To have you miss a break.
And you know me.
Yeah.
You know me. I am Mr.
Well, that was it. I thought there were, I was like, okay, he's going at 53. Then 53 came by. He went to the phones. I was like, okay. He is just fired up. He's just livid at this team. He's so livid he's forgotten everything that for the last decade he has pounded into his brain about radio.
Yeah. Well, you guys know me. Anthony and I used to joke around about this. I'm a planner.
Mm-hmm.
I overplan sometimes. Now I adjust. I make halftime adjustments.
That's good. It's good. We're looking for that.
But I'm just pushing the clock right now. Whew. All right. My bad. So here's what we're going to do. Still to come on the show. I got to figure out the break times the rest of this hour. We will do our Around the NFL segment just to look at some of the scores yesterday, to take a quick breather from the demise of the Eagles. But there's a reason why I want to do it, is because we now have the playoffs. The playoffs is set. So we'll take a look at what the path is for the Eagles, if there is one. The path might be you're crossing the bridge and the bridge is up, or the bridge was blown up and you're about to fall off because you're not paying attention to how bad things are, and that's what the Eagles have done. The Eagles, I don't even know if they realize how bad it is. At least I think the players do. I don't know. Does Nick Sirianni have a single answer? We're going to find out more come playoff time. Speaking of Nick Sirianni, he speaks to the media today at 3:15. You'll be able to hear that during the best show ever. Last week, during his post-game press conference, he tried telling you that the second-to-last drive against the Cardinals, where they ran the bubble screen and 2 quarterback design runs, he thought those were aggressive play calls. The following day, he realized he was wrong. Yesterday, he had to talk a lot about fixing things and still having the locker room. How's he feeling a day later? You'll hear that later on in the show. All right, we have a couple open lines, 610-632-0975. I apologize. I'm so emotional today. So fired up that I let that get the best of me. Speaking of Nick Sirianni, Adam Schefter talked about his job security. We'll play that for you next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Meltdown at the Meadowlands. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Discover. Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a game-changing checking account with cashback. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC. The Eagles flat out stunk on Sunday. They got crushed by the New York Giants as they found a new rock bottom in a stretch that has been filled with a lot of places.
Every angle on the Eagles is here all week as they prepare for the NFL Wild Card. You're listening to Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You know what's really disheartening? When you don't notice something during a game and then somebody points it out and you go, oh my God, this is even worse than I thought it was. So I'm going to take you back to the San Francisco 49ers game. When the 49ers ran out in the field, Eagles were doing their DB drills, and the 49ers just ran right through them. And not a single player on the Eagles reacted. It was more so like, hey, guys, stop. Stop it. Stop, guys. We're warming up here. Stop it. Right? You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's exactly how it sounded, but that's how it kind of looked from our vantage point. So I want to credit Jonah A. Wooten on Twitter. Now, by the way, his bio is tremendous. Philadelphia sports fan has broken me. Proceed with caution.
Temple guy.
Oh, really? All right. How about Temple made Temple proud? To you, baby. So there's a video of the Giants linebacker, remember, who jumped the line of scrimmage when they tried doing the tush push? And he speared Hurts. Like, he went head first to Jalen Hurts' head. This is early in the game. This is the first quarter, right? Like, there's 37 seconds left in the first quarter. Still early on, man. And he posted the video and said, insane that not a soul lifted a finger or said anything to the Giants linebacker for essentially a free shot to Hurts' head. Something I didn't even think about yesterday. But what a tremendous point. Since when does a quarterback take a cheap shot and nobody, not one single player, has anything to say or do in retaliation? Since when does the franchise quarterback or backup quarterback take a cheap shot and nobody do anything about it?
That was wild. I remember watching that in real time. Like, whoa, he just got a hit on him. Nothing happened.
I didn't even think about it. I'll be honest, because they were down 3-0 in the first quarter of the Giants, and I'm freaking miserable.
I was just nothing. Like, nothing came of that. Not that I expected to get, a penalty or expected to get anything, but
fight where, like, Jason Peters takes down Chris Baker.
Right.
But, like, the fake hold me back like nonsense that was, something.
One hand to the chest. Hey, back
not
off,
one
man.
person. Now, I'm not saying that's something that's a shot at Hurts. I'm not saying, like, they don't have his back or whatever. Right? This isn't Longest Yard, where they were letting Adam Sandler just get drilled for like 5 or 6 straight plays. No, I'm not talking about that. But the fact that not one single guy had any sort of retaliation to a player getting a cheap shot kind of just is another picture of how bad the state of the affairs are for the Eagles right now. Strange, man. Strange. Now, we have a caller, Nick in South Philly, who says this season is not a disaster. And I teased it going to the break, and I would love to hear why. Hi, Nick.
My name is Mick.
Oh,
M-I-C-K.
Mick. Hi, Mick. How you doing, man?
How you doing? This is security guard. Remember me from back in the day?
Oh, yeah. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on? How you been doing? I'm proud of you, too, man.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm calling about, listen, man, our whole agenda was to make the playoffs, and we in the playoffs. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't think it was a bad season. Yesterday, you see the game. Nobody didn't want to play in that game.
Mick.
I don't know why.
Mick, hold on. You're saying going into this season, all you wanted to do was just get back to the playoffs?
No, get back in the playoffs and win. That's all we worried about. It's a long season. And our whole job was to get into the playoffs no matter what. And we in the playoffs now.
Okay.
I ain't worried about it. I'm looking at it as a home field, like the home field, okay, 49ers have that. But I'm looking at the path for the Eagles' path now.
Man, they don't even have a home game. They're in Tampa.
It don't matter. No, listen, these players is warm weather players, man. They're not cold weather players no more.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at. All these players is warm weather players we got on the Eagles. A lot of them do, except for Jason Kelsey and Lane. They the physical guys. But all these other dudes, they all warm weather players. And
what was the issue last year? They played at home. They played in Philly, and they got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got to the Super Bowl. But I'm looking at it now. I think the path is more easier for us to get where we're going. than us winning and staying home with that cold
Mick,
weather.
I agree that the path is easier playing the Bucks than whoever you would have played if you were the 2 seed, but that's not the point. They're not good. The Eagles are not a good football team right now. They're not clicking, and I don't think it's going to all of a sudden change, man.
I think it do. I think it is. It was always, I always say, that at the end of the tunnel is always light. We had too many dark days. The light is coming. That's how I'm looking at it. I love the Eagles. I'm a diehard Eagle.
Yeah, same, man.
Yesterday, I looked at them, watched them play. Yesterday, half of them they didn't want to talk. They didn't want to be out there.
No, they didn't want to be out there. But you know what? The head coach had them go out there, and what was their response? Yeah, sure, coach, we got you. And then they go down 24-0. You think they really rock with the head coach like that?
Yeah, listen. This part I got to say about that. With the hell, I think they do rock with them. That's why they went out there, because they mess with Sirianni like that. That's why they went out there. But if you look at it, what you were saying, Andrew, the other day, I was right with you that whole day. They should not be playing no starters.
No.
They shouldn't even be on that field at all, because you know Dallas is going to win that game.
And they did, and they handled their business. It was like, I know it was tight at the beginning, and then the Cowboys put it on the table the rest of the way. Mick, listen, man, I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate that you're still keeping the faith. I do. But, man, they were just trying to get to the playoffs nonsense. Like, that's not what the goal is this year. And I know what Mick is saying. To get back to the Super Bowl, you first have to get to the playoffs. But, man, you have to get to the playoffs and look like a team that belongs. They don't even look like they belong. I wrote down before the show started, this isn't a playoff team. The only reason why they are in the playoffs is because of their record, because they were 10-1. And I know that sounds so ass backwards, but you get what I'm saying. You've watched this team play over the last 6 weeks. Does that scream playoff team? I'm not going to do the scores around the league, okay? I'm just going to look at the playoff team. The Ravens are your 1 seed in the AFC. They look like a playoff team and have been playing like a playoff team all season long. The Bills, we all thought died when the Eagles beat them in overtime. Nope. They turned their season around and finished as the 2 seed. A team that we all thought died at the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles. They turned their season around. They look like a playoff team. The Chiefs are the 3 seed. They don't scream like a playoff team to me. Like, maybe I shouldn't say playoff team. Maybe I should say Super Bowl contender. The Texans, congratulations. Incredible season, winning the AFC South. The Browns look like a playoff team. And so do the Texans. But the Browns look like a playoff team. Is Joe Flacco magical right now? Yeah. Do I think the Browns are going to go on and go to some Super Bowl run? No. But they have played like a playoff team from start to finish. So of the Dolphins got crap for looking like a fraudulent team earlier in the year. Well, they're at least going into the playoffs a little higher than the Eagles. I know they lost to the Bills yesterday. And then the Steelers, I don't really buy into the Steelers really going on some sort of run. They'll probably get bounced early. Bills 10-point favorites in that game. Lay it. Niners obviously look like a playoff team. Cowboys look like a playoff team. Lions look like a playoff team. The Bucks are benefits of playing in the NFC South. The Rams of recent weeks have looked more of a playoff team than the Eagles. Some might say the Packers, too. The Eagles don't even look like a team that belongs in the conversation of these other 13 teams. And that sucks. Ronnie, VT Ron, what's up, brother?
Andrew, I'm going to carry on where you're at. Hey, good afternoon, and you know where my head's at. But, hey, I got to tell you, just do the eye test. Look at the Seahawks game, look at the first Giants game, look at the Cards game, and look at the Giants game. Is that a playoff team to you?
No.
Don't think so. It's great to have some optimism, and man, I could be optimistic. I could care less what happens next Monday night because it's going to be a sad day because I don't think they're going to get out of Tampa Bay with a win. Not the way this team's been playing. You could put together all these ideas about they're playing out the string. They can't wait till they get. You don't turn it on and off like a light switch.
No.
You don't do it.
No, you don't. You don't. And I know Sirianni was asked about that, and he was saying stuff like, yeah, we believe it starts with the work that we're going to put together this week. Well, where's the work been the last 6 weeks then, Nick?
Andrew, we've talked about this before, you and I. When you can't make a correction and you try to do changes to your scheme, and it doesn't work, well, that's got to say something about your coaching ability, doesn't it? And I got to be the first to eat crow because I thought the Patricia move was a good move. And obviously that's kicked dirt right back in my face. But I don't see this team getting out of Tampa Bay either. It's going to be sad. It's going to be long. And, I think it might have been Shefton too, and then I'll give somebody else a chance. I thought he said Sirianni has led the Eagles to a playoff for 3 straight years. It would be very, very difficult to let him go after doing that. Well, you know what? I was around when Kotite was 7-1, and they let him go at the end. Andrew, I'm going to lick my wounds. I'm going to listen to you all because you're doing a great job.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Keep venting. Keep staying with us. And this team, don't know where we're going, but sure as heck we ain't going to a Super Bowl.
Yep, that's unfortunate. Thanks for the call, VT. Always a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, the Kotite thing's been brought up a lot. Ray, you brought, this is our Kotite year, right? Our lifetime. And I've never seen a collapse like this in really any sport. I know the Phillies in the Kapler era in August had slim leads, but it wasn't anything drastic. This is literally rivaling the 1964 Phillies that we've, fortunately we still have people that call on the show and talk about it. Glad you're still with us. And you can tell us more than anybody how bad this is. And just based off of research alone, yeah, this is up there. They were 10-1 with games in hand of the 49ers. The 49ers had lost 3 games at this point. And just look at the difference. The Niners finished with an extra win, but also beat you head-to-head. So if you tied, wouldn't have mattered. And the Niners only had one more win than you because they rested their starters yesterday. Good for Wentz, man.
If that wasn't the cruelest to watch him execute the quarterback draw and get into the end zone.
Yeah, the quarterback draw. The best thing, though, that comes out of that game is the ineptitude of the New York Jets. They should have at least tried it. Instead, they roll with Zach Wilson all season long. And then they eventually went to, what was his name? Boyle. Tim Boyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. What a long season it was.
Yeah. Good for you, New York Jets. Hey, we might be 1 week away from being on the same island as you guys are. All right. We have an hour and change left on this Football Monday, reacting to just such a terrible, terrible loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. The conversation, reacting to the game, reacting to the lack of energy coming from the players, reacting to the lack of faith in not only us in the head coach, but I think the players when it comes to the head coach. And at some point, we're going to talk more about the future. And I thought the future wasn't going to happen, that future being a change in head coach. If you continue to spiral out of control like this, you will. Schefter disputed that. Believes unless they get blown out by the Buccaneers, he'll be here next year. But the fact that it's even being talked about shows just how bad this season has spiraled out of control for the Eagles. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, the regular season, it's great for some teams. But there is nothing like NFL Super Wild Card Weekend. 6 games in 3 days. Unfortunately, we have to wait the third day to watch our squad play. Win or go home, but you'll always have a spot in the playoffs with FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge, America's #1 sports book. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. Something that I love to do every single year on Super Wild Card Weekend is make a parlay of all the games. And so let's say I think Browns money line. Let's go Chiefs money line. Let's go Bills to cover the 10. I'm doing this on the fly. Let's go Cowboys money line. Maybe they don't cover the 7.5 against the Packers. Rams outright. Let's say the Eagles win. Money line. Why would I do that to myself? A $10 bet would win you $255. So if you want to follow my picks, go to FanDuel right now. New customers get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/Fanatic to join today. That's FanDuel.com/Fanatic and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 plus and present in PA. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-trouble bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Meltdown at the Meadowlands. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Jackson Hewitt Tax Services. Home of the money today guarantee. Get the tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No fee refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. The Eagles flat out stunk on Sunday as they got crushed by the New York Giants and found a new rock bottom in a stretch that's been full of them. They've now lost 5 of 6 games. The final score of 27-10 is too kind to the disaster that it was. The Eagles played their starters, trailed 24-0 before most of the starters exited the game right before halftime. On top of that, A.J. Brown, Sidney Brown, Cam Jurgens, Reed Blankenship, and Jalen Hurts were all banged up in the game. The Birds now head to Tampa Bay next Monday night to take on the Buccaneers in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Today at 4 o'clock, ESPN's Tim McManus will join the best show ever in studio live for an hour to talk all things Birds and the mess of the end of this season. The Flyers finally won again. Local hockey club snapped its losing skid with a 3-2 win over the Calgary Flames on Saturday. Travis Konecny scored the go-ahead goal in the third period to put the Flyers ahead. The Flyers and Penguins play tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And the Sixers had a tough weekend. They've lost a pair of games since we last spoke. They'll be back in action on Wednesday. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The big plays, the moments that matter. Tyrese Maxey here to tell you this is the radio home of the Philadelphia 76ers. 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is DeAnthony Mel.
The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL Wild Card. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's a football Monday. It's a disastrous football Monday. And it's the 12 o'clock hour. And the 12 o'clock hour is brought to us by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. We were having some fun during the break. I saw Tyrone and Ricky and Jen, and they will have the Nick Sirianni press conference coming up at 3:15. We were thinking about the Nick Sirianni bingo card. You know, It Starts With Me is going to be brought up at some point. You know there's going to be a I Still Believe in the Guys at some point. Will there be a mention of dad or brother? We'll find out. Obviously, you always get the free space on the bingo card. It's going to be just a lot of cliches. It's pretty much what it has been with them. It's cliches with Jalen Hurts. It's a bunch of empty words. Can we play this Fletcher Cox one more time, Ray? Because here's the deal. Anything that Nick Sirianni says, I've come to ignore at this point. Jalen Hurts, I don't even really listen to anymore. I did this morning, driving in. And I don't know why I did that to myself. Because I'm not getting anything out of it other than, as Pat Egan likes to joke about, new T-shirts. Or like Pat says, it's the T-shirts that you see at the Dick's Sporting Goods store. Like that Nike puts out there. I mean, that's like, I all I need is a crumb. It's one of the things Jalen Hurts said today. All I need is a crumb as an opportunity. You're running out of crumbs, man.
Is that our next Hurts game?
Yeah.
Is it a Nike T-shirt or is it a Hurts say?
Speaking of Nike, big news today. Tiger Woods and Nike have parted ways. Since 1996, they've been together.
Better get the rights to that logo.
Yeah. Great.
I like that logo.
So I just ignore Fletcher Cox, I ignore Nick Sirianni. I ignore Jalen Hurts. But Fletcher Cox said something in the locker room yesterday. Now, he did not play, as we know. He said something yesterday that was totally damning of his teammates. Take a listen.
You got guys in this locker room that make millions and millions of dollars. You know, it shouldn't be a question about their mindset. You know, they're focused on going into the postseason. I mean, there's nothing to worry about anybody's character, no player's effort, or anything like that. So I think, you know, the feeling I'm getting from this team is very scary right now. You know, obviously everybody's sad. We just got beat up, you know, pretty good by a really bad football team. Let's just say that.
The feeling I'm getting from this team is very scary. That's one of your captains, man. And not a captain like Darius Slay, who's been here for a couple of years. No, Fletcher Cox has been here for a long time. He has seen the good, the great, right? The top of the mountain and winning a Super Bowl. He's also seen the bad. The demise of the Doug Peterson era, the Chip Kelly era. He's been here for a long time. And he's talking about it's scary from what he's seeing from his teammates right now and in that locker room. That's not good, man. They're going into the playoffs. And I love that we had our man Mick call in from South Philly. Tremendous security guard. And he's talking about, hey, listen, to get to the Super Bowl, the first thing you have to do is get to the playoffs. My biggest problem is that they technically have been in the playoffs for like 5 weeks. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse as each week goes on. But don't worry, Ray. Don't worry. Fletcher Cox is scared by what he has seen from his teammates. Dallas Goedert is thinking the opposite.
We had a long season last year, and I just know everybody in this locker room is ready to you know, go to work for the playoffs. And you know, ever since 4 or 5 weeks ago when we clinched the playoffs, you know, I think everybody's just been waiting for the playoffs. So not something that you know, is a great thing, but I think everybody's going to be ready to go, and I think we're going to you know, show the world what we're capable of.
I wonder if like, sometimes players think before they speak. You got a microphone in front of you. It's hard. Right. Just came off the emotions of a loss like that. I understand. And when I say think, I don't just mean like trying not to say something dumb. Maybe sometimes you slip. If that truly was the mindset of the Eagles locker room, hey, we've been in the playoffs for like 4 to 5 weeks now. You know, we'll it's playoff. We'll get right. That's a terrible mentality to have. Terrible mentality to have. You always talk about the hottest team going to the playoffs. You want to be the hottest team going to the playoffs. You never want to be the team that's lost 5 out of your last 6 games. And I got to hear Dallas Goedert say, well, we've been in the playoffs for a while now, and I think everybody's kind of realized that. Yeah, but you were also the 1 seed. You didn't just drop from 1 to 2. You dropped to 5. That is detrimental to you as a team. And there is no flipping of switches. That doesn't just happen. This offensive mindset of Nick Sirianni and the play calls by Brian Johnson, it hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse. The defense, my God. Patricia made a defense that looked horrible beforehand and turned them into one of the worst defenses in the league. And you're trying to tell me, Dallas Goedert, I appreciate you trying to, like, put some confidence out there in the air. But you're trying to tell me that guys kind of took their foot off the gas pedal 4 or 5 weeks ago because you knew you got into the playoffs? If that's true, then shame on all of you. But either way, there is no flipping the switch. It's all of a sudden not going to get better. The only thing you can hold on to right now is if you beat the Bucs in Tampa, hopefully that starts some sort of momentum. But that momentum is going to carry you into Dallas or maybe worse, into San Francisco. Let's go to Dan in Lansdale. Dan, you're on the Fanatic.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, Dan.
So I'm going to throw this blame on somebody completely different. And full disclosure, I am a long-time Howie Roseman detractor.
Okay.
For a long, long time. I don't think he's a very good general manager. He paid a quarterback too soon again. He's built a defense that's horrible, and the guys he brought in mid-season and made trades for have also been horrible in Byard and Shaquille Leonard. Neither of those guys can play. He brought in this entire coaching staff, and it's always portrayed as the front office is in charge of everything, and they bring in yes-man coaches. So, to me, everything starts and ends with Howie Roseman being subpar at his job.
You know what I find interesting, Dan? I did a show. Was it Friday, Ray, or Thursday? It was one day last week. I did a Howie Roseman show, and I wanted to see where the people were on Howie Roseman. What was the temperature on Howie Roseman? Because we all know you've been a long time detractor. You just said, but there have been a lot of people that flipped their opinion on Howie once things started looking good again. And he did do a good job building that Super Bowl team after the issues that he caused. Let's face it, he was a big part of the issues.
He's good at signing. He does generally pretty well at bringing in free agents.
Right. And so this
year he has not.
Right. And so not many people were ready to blame Howie. But if this continues, especially when we do like the shows at the season's end, looking back at the issues of this team, they were issues that we pointed out before the season started, like your linebackers, like the middle of the field.
Right. And he's admitted that he's wrong by trying to bring in safeties and linebackers during the season. It's not like he's sticking to his guns. He's basically like, yeah, I did screw up. These guys do stink, and I got to bring in guys who unfortunately also stink during the year to try to just shore it up. And it's just, I don't see a guy, like, you can't just build a team with free agents every year. You need to draft better. He misses on draft picks still. He makes bad draft picks like Nolan Smith, terrible draft pick when they should have drafted Brian Branch or somebody along those lines who is good and an active contributor. You can't win. You can be good for a long time with Howie Roseman as general manager, and you might flash here and there and, make it Super Bowl, but he's not going to be the guy to build a team that is good for a long time.
I mean, it's an interesting conversation, Dan. I appreciate the call because I do think drafting he has done better. Now, it was very bad at one point. We're not long removed from Andre Dillard, Miles Sanders, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Sharif Miller, and Clayton Thorson as your 5 picks in the 2019 NFL Draft. The following year, Rager, Hurts, who, hey, we're all good with Hurts now, even though I still think that was a ridiculous draft pick at the time, but it's worked out. We talk so much about finding Hurts, we almost ignore the rest. Davion Taylor, Kayvon Wallace, Jack Driscoll, John Hightower, Sean Bradley, Quez Watkins, your boy Prince Tega Wanago from Auburn.
I had his jersey.
And Casey Toohill. Now, look, these are late round picks. 2021 was a good draft. Good draft. Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams in the 3rd round. I thought more of him this year. He's not done much, but he's still a rotational guy. McPherson, I did not like the pick, but jury's still out. The guy was hurt this year. I can't, say that McPherson wouldn't have done anything this year. I know Kenneth Gainwell is not anybody's favorite, but they got him in the 5th round. Tui Pelotu, not bad for a 6th round pick, and then Teron Jackson, Jacoby Stevens, Patrick Johnson, right? Those are your 6th and 7th round picks. 2022, you had 5 picks to work with. I did not like I liked Jordan Davis. I wanted Kyle Hamilton. This is not revisionist history. It's what I truly felt at the time. But the Jordan Davis pick, okay, I'm all for it. Cam Jurgens, we'll see. He's been all right at right guard. Not great. But he's a center. Everybody loved Nakobe Dean. Everybody. And you got him in the 3rd round. And then your last 2 picks were Kyron Johnson and Grant Calcaterra. Okay. And then last year, I don't think anybody hated this past draft. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. I understand he wasn't a Nolan Smith fan. Nolan Smith also has not been played much. I don't think it's because he's been unplayable. Tyler Steen, jury's still out, but I still don't know why he didn't dress yesterday. That's one of those things where it's like, all right, we're talking about little things. Nick Sirianni is so about the finer details. You knew, he himself admitted that they were going to be scoreboard watching, right? We played it in the clip. His press conference yesterday, he admits that he was going to be scoreboard watching. So why would you not dress your 3rd round draft pick, who was an offensive lineman, when you know there's a chance you might be pulling all 5 of your linemen, and you don't dress him yesterday? I was shocked when it came out at 3 o'clock yesterday, and I was shocked to hear Sirianni's answer, even though we kind of believed that, and not dressing Steen yesterday. I know it's something very small compared to the rest of the things, but Mr. Finer Details, that was odd to me yesterday. Very. But yeah, we'll see about Howie. I'm not going to get to a point of I hate Howie Roseman again yet. I'm not going to get to that point. Howie Roseman realizes the issues on this team, I would imagine. I don't think Howie Roseman's sitting in his office today very thrilled with what's going on with the Eagles. Now, if he believes it's just because of Nick Sirianni or something, then shame on you. We all have to look ourselves in the mirror. This offseason will be very interesting. Not just about coaching changes, but personnel changes. And damn, do they need it on defense. Let's go to Jim in the Northeast. What's up, Jim?
Hey, how are you?
How you doing, man?
All right, here's what I was watching a while ago. 7 games ago, A.J. Brown starts slamming his helmet on the bench repeatedly, okay? Mm-hmm. That was 7 games ago. And it went on and on and on. And then he started really getting into Hurts' face, screaming at him, hollering him. Now, that's dissension right there. I mean, that was 7 games ago. And if nobody picked that up with this guy, then It only takes.
It was talked about, but Jalen Hurts also squashed it because Jalen Hurts says we have a different relationship because they are very good friends.
Yeah.
And he feels like they can talk to each other that way.
Yeah, but not in front of the whole team and the.
Well, they're not. Jalen, AJ Brown's not going to say, "Hey, Jalen, come to my office."
Listen. Let me ask you your opinion, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
After a while, do you think some players, when the Eagles get down on a 2 or 1 yard line, will like to score a touchdown themselves?
Yeah, I'm sure, but I don't think the collapse is because of the push.
Nothing to do with the collapse. But don't you think some of these guys deserved to take a handoff first and goal from the 1? Don't you think that that's not a good thing to let him run and, like, in other words, give me the ball, I'll score? That has an effect on the whole team.
I don't think so, Jim. You might be reading a little bit too much into it. I mean, look, the tush push. I get it because it's all Jalen Hurts scoring all these touchdowns, but
maybe that's why the Jones had a bug up and then, like, in other words, what am I here for?
I don't.
Throw me a pass from 1 yard.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think so, Jim. I appreciate the call. I don't think there's turmoil in the locker room because Jalen Hurts is getting touchdowns and scoring tush pushes. I don't think that's it. Getting in the end zone then. If you make a catch at the 20, get into the end zone. Don't get tackled at the 1. Like I don't know.
Are we going to take the thing that the other teams haven't been able to stop? We're going to take that out of the playbook because somebody's ego is a little hurt because they have scored a touchdown?
You know what? You know what would be good for the Sixers if they have a 2-game skid right now? Let Furkan hit a few threes. Embiid, too much is made of Embiid. Instead of Embiid missing a game because of injury, why don't you just give him a day off? Let Mo Bamba go out there.
You know what was encouraging out of yesterday?
What's that?
People got to see why Rashad Penny doesn't play.
Yeah, he missed a block at one point.
Terribly.
Yeah.
Horribly. Ends up, Hurts gets hit. It's like, why haven't they played this guy? I don't know, man.
In his defense, that dude hasn't played all season long.
The dude has never been able to pick up a blitz in his life.
Dude hasn't played all season long. Allison has to go out there and pass protect.
That's part of your job. That'd be like saying Marcus Mariota had to go out there and not throw an interception. Like, that's just part of the job description. You are a running back in the National Football League in the year of 2024 now.
Yeah, you got to block.
You got to block.
I understand.
That's why you don't play. Whoa.
I understand. All right, we got one segment left for us. I saw Tyrone. I was like, yeah, you're next, dude. I always bring this up. The biggest misnomer in sports talk radio. You guys like it when they lose. I don't have fun with this. Yeah, today is a spirited show where I look at the clock. I can't believe it's 1:12. I looked at the clock and blew through a commercial break earlier.
True.
I don't do that. Yeah, today's been a spirited show because of another colossal loss yesterday. Think I want to do this for a whole week? No. I want to go into the playoffs fired up and celebrating an Eagles 14-win season. I wanted to go into this as a bye week, actually. 1 seed, run it back. Bring it on, come through Philly. No. We don't prefer it when they lose. God. All right. Just so you know, by the way, it's a Football Monday. And Football Mondays on the Fanatic, presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Continue the reaction. And by the way, I meant to get to this earlier because we're not really talking about the future too much just yet because there is still a playoff game. But obviously, we've kind of gotten to it. We just had a caller bring up Howie Roseman and the issues and the changes that are going to have to be made, coaches that are going to have to be made. I want to sit down for a few minutes and talk about what changes might actually happen this offseason. Not like let's overreact and say blow it up and blah, blah, but what changes might actually happen this offseason. Even though the offseason hasn't started yet, I don't want to jump the gun on it too much, which is why I haven't really done that today. But just a quick, 5 minutes on the changes that could be coming in Eagles land right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another week, more bad football. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that is built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. The Eagles, well, they stunk on Sunday. They got crushed by the New York Giants. They found a new rock bottom in this season in a stretch that has been filled with quite a few that we thought was the new rock bottom. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. Final score of 27-10 is too kind to the disaster that it was. Eagles played their starters, trailed 24-0 before benching many of them right before halftime. On top of that, A.J. Brown, Sidney Brown, Cam Jerkins, Reed Blankenship, and Jalen Hurts all were banged up in the game. The Birds now head to Tampa Bay next Monday night on Monday Night Football to take on the Buccaneers in the wild card round. Today at 4 o'clock, ESPN's Tim McManus will join the best show ever live in studio for an hour to talk about the mess of this Eagles team and the end of their season and what to look for in the postseason. The Flyers, well, they finally won again. Local hockey club snapped its losing skid with a 3-2 victory over the Calgary Flames on Saturday. They play the Penguins tonight, 7 o'clock right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Sixers lost a pair of games over the weekend, back in action on Wednesday. This update's also brought to you by Unbound.org. A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia Flyers play here. Coming up tonight, Tim Saunders has the play-by-play. Your home for the Flyers is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in because they are making a profit from you. That's the law. Yet many times a normal day ends with injuries because that business breached that duty because they knew or should have known of the dangerous condition that caused your injury. It happens every day in many ways. Slip and falls where cleaning and maintenance were ignored. Falling boxes and items stacked too high. And so many other unexpected occurrences and dangers only known to that business owner. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, let our team investigate and report back to you. The duty to protect customers from harm is the law, and our duty is to protect you after that harm. Visit forthepeople.com for more information, or on your cell phone, dial #law. That's all. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. forthepeople.com.
Hey, it's Jen Scordo. As good as the regular season is, there's nothing like the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend. 6 games, 3 days. For these teams, it's win or go home. But you'll always have a spot in the playoffs with FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I personally love building a same-game parlay around player props. So take your favorite team to win on the spread to begin. Then add in all those player props. Who's going to score first? Your favorite quarterback for an anytime touchdown. And throw in the over for your favorite running back's total yards. So if you want to follow my picks, go to FanDuel right now. New customers get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet, just $5. Just visit FanDuel.com/Scordo to join today. That's FanDuel.com/Scordo, which is my last name, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in PA. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues non-withdrawal bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Wawa has pizza. And now get $5 off a 14-inch or 16-inch pizza when you order on the Wawa app or your favorite delivery app. Order varieties like pepperoni and sausage, each bubbling with melty mozzarella. It's always pizza night at Wawa. Perfect for hanging out with friends or watching the game. Order on the Wawa app or your favorite delivery app to get $5 off any pizza starting at 4 p.m. Gotta have a Wawa. Bring in 2024 in a big way at Wawa. Get any 20 or 24-ounce cup of freshly brewed hot coffee for just $2. You can pour more of your favorite coffee, every mild, medium, or dark roast. And our new caramel cream-flavored coffee with notes of caramelized sugar, rich salted butter, and warm, fragrant vanilla. Go big with a Wawa coffee for $2. Gotta have a Wawa. Limited time offer.
This winter, cozy up to a home that's perfectly yours with Preferred Pros. From skilled craftsmen and expert designers to top veterinarians and relaxing pools and spas, we've got the best recommendations for you. Let us help you make your dream project a reality. Your home, your life, our professionals. Connect with Preferred Pros you can trust.
WM Henderson's expert plumbers are available with 24-hour emergency plumbing solutions. They arrive in their fully stocked trucks the same day, guaranteed, or it's free.
Hydroscape Pools, the area's fastest growing fiberglass pool builder, is Hydroscape Pools. Book now and swim next summer. Affordable financing is available and most pools are completed in about 2 weeks. Schedule a free consultation at hydroscapepools.com today.
Great Railing offers the highest quality vinyl decking, fencing, and railing at discount prices on the Black Horse Pike in Williamstown or online at greatrailing.com.
Check out Preferred Pros today. This paid program is sponsored by businesses highly rated by actual customers. For more details on Preferred Pros, visit 975thefanatic.com.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
I'm Andrew Salchunas reacting to the terrible loss yesterday, the terrible end of the regular season for the Eagles, and talking about whether or not they can flip the switch, which I don't think they can. But look, Sirianni believes they can still flip the switch. If you can get to that point in the press conference, Ray, Nick Sirianni was asked about it by Zach Berman because they talked about flipping the switch before the Cardinals game. The switch obviously was not flipped. They lost that game to the Cardinals in a game in which they actually had something to somewhat play for, and it was to, stick it to Jonathan Gannon, and they lost. Jonathan Gannon ran right down your throats and stopped you defensively enough for them to win, and the Eagles didn't force a single punt against a team that had 3 wins going into it. And so going into this game, like, the only thing that you had to play for when they shouldn't have played their starters to begin with was, I guess, pride and feeling good about thyself going into the playoffs. So they lost that too, clearly, because they lost the game. Here's Nick Sirianni being asked about flipping the switch going into the playoffs.
Switch couldn't be flipped last week given the stakes and this week given the discussion. What makes you think it can be flipped next week?
Because you believe in the guys in that locker room, you believe in the coaches, you believe in the players, and we got a lot of good players that I know will give everything they got. We got a lot of players that know what it takes to get to the top. We got a lot of guys in that locker room who know how to win playoff games. We got a lot of coaches who know how to win playoff games, and that's what makes you confident is that.
I mean, yeah, they know how to win playoff games. A lot of them were here last year. Nick Sirianni was here last year. Brian Johnson was here as the quarterback's coach. A lot of the players on the roster were here last year. But they were clicking on all cylinders pretty much going into the playoffs, except for those 2 losses when it was Gardner Minshew at quarterback. They were 14-1 in the regular season with Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback last year. It's been a disastrous end of the season this year, and I don't think you can all of a sudden just quickly turn things around. It seems like the messaging has been lost. It seems like nobody's listening to him anymore, listening to his leadership. So the question will then be whether or not they should move on from Nick Sirianni after the season. Adam Schefter was on ESPN earlier today, if you can get that ready for me, Ray, because it's been talked about a lot for weeks now about whether or not Nick Sirianni should be on the hot seat if this continues, and it obviously continued yesterday. Here's Adam Schefter earlier today on ESPN talking about Nick Sirianni and his job stability.
Well, here's what I would say to that, Greeny. Here's the deal. Jobs are won and lost in December and January. And just because everybody thinks somebody's safe, if there's a finish that is so blatantly bad down the stretch, anything always becomes possible. But I can tell you that that's not how the Eagles are thinking. Now, should they go into Tampa, get blown out here? The season continues on its downward trajectory. Could something happen? Who knows? Anything's always possible. But that's not the plan there in Philadelphia to move on from Nick Sirianni.
The first half of that clip, I'm waiting for him to say, but Sirianni shouldn't be thinking he's comfortable. No, and then all of a sudden he pivoted and said, no, Sirianni, that's not what the plan is in Philadelphia. When people hear that, and let's face it, it's Adam Schefter. It's the #1 NFL reporter. When people hear that, Eagles fans, those of us who rocked with Sirianni last year, I know there's people that have always felt a certain type of way about Sirianni and his antics on the sideline and whatnot, but let's face it, he coached the team to a 14-3 record and a Super Bowl appearance last year, and they were at one point 10-1. So we were rocking with Nick. But once you start losing, some of the antics you start getting annoyed about. Once you start losing, the togetherness obviously starts to separate. Once you start losing, you need to find answers. You need to dig deep. And he's found nothing. But Adam Schefter this morning basically says that's not the plan right now. Now, obviously, right now is some of the key words that could change. And he did point out like a blowout loss to the Buccaneers. But it doesn't seem to be right now in the plans of the Philadelphia Eagles to move on from Nick Sirianni. Now, I do believe that's smart messaging from the Eagles, from whoever reported that or gave that information to Adam Schefter, because you don't want Nick Sirianni thinking, oh man, wait, if I lose this game, I'm going to be gone, and then have to worry about that during the game prep all week long. The guy's already spinning. Do you want to add more? This time his job being on the line. So I think that was a smart move by the Eagles. We'll see what happens on Monday. Let's go to Chris in Overbrook. Chris, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Hey, Chris.
All right, good. Do you think if that was a playoff game yesterday against the Giants or even the Cardinals that we lose that game?
If that, maybe. There's nothing that tells me no or yes.
Yeah, I think we would have smashed the Cardinals if that was a playoff game. We would have smashed the Giants if that was a playoff game.
What makes you say that?
Well, we have a team full of champions. We have a team full of winners. Nick Sirianni's right. I don't really like the coordinator. I think he should be gone next year. I don't like the defensive coordinator, but I still have hope for this team. I just think that we're just built for the playoffs. We're just a playoff team.
All right. Forget the Giants and Cardinals game. What about the previous Giants game when they only won by 8?
Yeah.
What about the game before that when it was the Seahawks? What about the game before that against the Cowboys? What about the game before that against the 49ers? If those were playoff games, would it have been a different result?
There's no doubt about it, especially against the Seahawks. We would have smashed them too if that was a playoff game. I was thinking that the whole time that we were playing against them. We're going the whole scheme of the team is going to change. We're going to be smash mouth football again. We're going to be mostly running the ball most of the time. We're going to get back to what we were doing last year. That's what I believe.
How do you know that?
This is just my belief. This is where I think we're going to come into Tampa Bay and just turn them into mincemeat. I think we're going to smash them.
Look, I hope you're right. I really do. More football is better than less football. More Eagles football better than less Eagles football. And as an Eagles fan, I want them to win the Super Bowl. But Chris, I don't think they're all of a sudden going to change everything. I know we talked about it, and I appreciate the call, man. I remember we talked about it after the 49ers game. Maybe, just maybe, they're keeping things off tape to use it come playoff time. Well, man. Do you think they want? I should have asked this question before I hung up on Chris. Do you think they wanted to follow the 5 seed? Do you think they wanted to follow the 5 seed? I don't think so. No. Because if you beat the Cardinals, playoff game or not, you beat the Cardinals in the regular season, you are still the 2 seed. You still have home field advantage until at least the NFC Championship game. I don't think they wanted to lose that. I don't think they wanted to fall to the 5 seed. I don't think they took their foot off the gas pedal because they've been in the playoffs for the last 4 to 5 weeks, like Dallas Goddard suggested yesterday. I don't think that's the case. I know there are people out there still trying to find anything to still have hope. Honestly, dude, hearing that call makes me sad. Because I'm afraid that Chris is in for a rude awakening. They might beat the Bucs. I keep on saying it. Talent alone, you match up talent v. talent. The Eagles have more talent. But then you look at some of the issues of the Eagles this year. Okay. Hurts has not been handling pressure very well. Go back to just week 3. They brought a lot of pressure. I believe it was a member of the Buccaneers coaching staff that pointed out Jalen Hurts not being able to read a defense. They've had success against Jalen Hurts in the past. Now they can just run the football. Will they? Oh, by the way, they got some beasts up front in Tampa. And then if you go to the offensive side of the ball for the Bucs against the Eagles defense, what on the Eagles defense gives you confidence? Week 3, I remember Sean Desai made an interesting decision that I liked, moving Bradbury into the slot. Because at this point, Avonte Maddox was hurt. They moved Bradbury to the slot to go up against Chris Godwin. Darius Slay locked up Mike Evans. They weren't worried about the third wide receiver. And it worked. James Bradbury, week 3, is not James Bradbury, January of 2024. He's got a lot of mileage all of a sudden. Baker Mayfield, a guy that can maybe extend plays a little bit. Eagles don't handle that very well. I'm almost sad that I heard that call. That sucks.
Yeah.
I would love to be there with him. I'm not.
I don't even know if I'd love to be there at this point. I feel like you're kind of inventing reasons for yourself to go into this one with hope. The hope is that you're playing a team that scored 9 points against the Panthers. Like that's the hope.
Yeah.
The hope is that you just are not that bad. But unfortunately, you've proven over 6 weeks that you are that bad. Like, for all we made about the identity of this group for the first 2-3 months of the season, we figured out what they are at this point. Like, Sorry to tell you could keep telling us you're something different, but your actions continue to show us what you are.
Right, and so look, he brings up the run the ball. I would love for the Eagles to show any sort of identity on offense, even if it didn't work. Well, I guess their identity is bubble screens and zone reads every once in a while. I don't know what the identity is of the Eagles offense. I don't know what the identity is of the Eagles defense other than soft coverage and being afraid to give up a big play. So instead, you let big plays after the catch because they're wide open. There's plenty of space. Doesn't matter what down and distance. The defense is always in trouble. So let's think about this for a second, Ray. Hopefully this season doesn't spiral out of control even more and a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But there is going to be a time where we talk future. As you said earlier today, all right, you beat the Bucs, then what? Does it change the conversation if you get blown out by the Cowboys or the 49ers? Even if you don't get blown out, they dropped 5 of their last 6 games, and it's not because they took their foot off the gas pedal. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Dallas Goedert, whatever he's saying, is not true. And if it is true, then shame on the Eagles, then that's shame on leadership. Shame on captains. Shame on a lot of people. You can't just do that. You can't fall from the 1 seed to the freaking 5th seed because you were already in the playoffs. It's wrong to do that. So there's change that needs to happen. Obviously, the coaching staff is all looked at. Everybody. Not just assistants and coordinators. It's also the head coach starts to get looked at. We all know Howie's not going anywhere, right? He's not going anywhere. So it's the coaches, and then it's the players. You're not going to move on from Jalen Hurts. They have to bring in a running back. I don't know if they're going to pay DeAndre Swift. I don't know what his market is. Wide receiver, you're going to start having conversations about paying Devontae Smith, and if you don't pay Devontae Smith, is there something else that you do? The offensive line, we talked about this year going into the season, that they lost multiple players up the middle of the field on defense. Javon Hargrave, TJ Edwards, Kazir White, CJ Gardner-Johnson. Lost a lot of players. Marcus Epps. Jason Kelsey might retire. Lane Johnson. Who knows about Lane Johnson? Who knows? That's 2/5 of your line right there. Cam Jurgens is going to then take over center, so now you have to replace right guard. And that's just the offense. That's the good side of the ball. The defense, we already know that there needs to be an overhaul, but you're going to lose veterans in Brandon Graham. I don't know if Fletcher Cox comes back for another year. You're going to have to figure out what you're doing with either Darius Slay or James Bradbury. I imagine not both of them are back, even though they're under contract. I imagine Howie does something and works out of one of those deals. You blink, and 22 starters, how many are coming back? 22 starters at that position because Cam Jurgens would move to center. Start a new starting running back. 3 changes on the offensive line, possibly. Maybe Lane Johnson's back. So let's say Lane Johnson's back. 3. You're going to need a new third receiver. It's not Quez Watkins. It's not Julio Jones. 4 on offense already. And then I imagine a different safety. I imagine a different corner. Probably one guy at least up the middle as a rotational. Oh, no. So if you're going Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis as starters, we're still at 6. You're going to need a new linebacker somewhere. Out of 22 starters, you might have 7 or 8 new players. Out of the starting 22. We're talking about a major overhaul. Almost half.
No, by the way, and at least one new coordinator.
Yeah, if not both. And maybe a new head coach for all I know. Who knows? If they have a collapse against the Bucs. Like, I'm not ready to go deep into that conversation yet, but it's something that's already starting to hit my mind. And that sucks because they still have a playoff game on Monday. Chris in Allentown. Chris, you're on the Fanatic.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I mean, even the weatherman gets it right every once in a while. This coaching staff is getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and I'm not. I mean, I watch football, and I mean, I don't see what goes on in the back office. But I'll tell you what, They can't see the glaring problems that they have on this team on both sides of the ball. Calling plays, scheme, talent. I don't understand it. I mean, I called last week. I said, maybe we should sit the starters this week. We should have sat the starters, and it should have been run heavy. I mean, A.J. Brown's hurt. Feeling Jalen's fingers.
When you called in, I knew we were going to have that conversation at one point, so I jumped it off after you made the call. So thank you for the programming. Your check will be in the mail. But I was in agreement with you. The only reason that kept me on the fence was the slight chance that they could get to the 2 seed, and I could only imagine what sports radio would be today if the Cowboys lost that game and the Eagles lost because they didn't start their starters. I didn't think about, hey, what if the Eagles have a collapse against the Giants and that messes with the psyche of the team? But no, injuries was the number one thing. And Chris, you lost Sidney Brown for the season. I know he's just pretty much a role player, but he's a guy that plays a lot of snaps. And now A.J. Brown, let's say he does play against the Buccaneers. How is he 100%? Obviously not.
No. I mean, this is just ignorance. This entire season is ignorance. I mean, either that or we're playing a really good game of possum, or this is the best
that's not
I've ever seen in my face. How can you run 12 plays all season? I mean, it was when Marcus Mariota came out, and I looked at my wife. I looked at her straight out. As soon as the play started, I bubble screen, and it got picked off, and I just wanted to die.
And you knew that. You knew that. Can you imagine what the defensive coordinator and the players thought?
I mean, this bubble screen. I just don't understand how dumb these.
And my sick, twisted mind thinks that Brian Johnson wanted to show the world that it does work. Let me just show it with a different quarterback.
I actually thought coming into this game that we're going to start our starters. It's Brian Johnson's just going to lay it all out. Next week on Monday, how did we get the Monday game? Anyways, I thought we would get a Saturday 4:30. Are you kidding me? A Monday night game.
I wish we got the Saturday at 4:30. Now I have to wait an extra day of misery. Thanks for the call, Chris. And the problem is, this is what sucks. Well, they very much could still win this game. This isn't the 49ers, right? I know you're shaking your head. They could very much win this game. So I have to wait the extra day of misery, right? I don't want to wait till Monday. Full disclosure, I want to get it out of the way. Win or lose, I want to get it out of the way. Because then if they play the 49ers the next week, now they're playing on short rest. Eagles are playing the Niners on short rest. The 49ers will be coming off their bye week. Didn't have to play anyone week 18 because they already locked things up because that's what good football teams do. The Rams, by the way, smarter than the Eagles by resting the starters. Let Wentz handle his business. And then now the Eagles have to play the Niners potentially on short rest or Dallas.
Can I get in front of something here, though, while we mention on short rest?
Yes.
You reap what you sow in this one.
A what?
They end up getting what they deserve to play on short rest.
No, absolutely.
I just already see the world where they beat the Bucs. They go in and play a game, and we have a segment of the fan base that's like, well, it was short rest.
Oh, they screwed over the Eagles. No.
The Eagles
did that. They did that to themselves.
They did that to themselves.
I heard Egan this morning saying how the NFL screwed them over with this. Nah, dude. Like, the Eagles losing 5 of their last 6 games screwed themselves over.
Yeah. I mean, I'm shocked that they want them for Monday Night Football. I'll be honest. Like, I understand Philadelphia ratings-wise is great, and the ratings are good for that. I thought the story of Browns-Texans was greater than that of Baker versus whatever's left of this Eagles team.
Right.
But that might also be me emotional in the local market going after it there. But I was with you. I wanted the Saturday afternoon
so
game.
If you think about markets, right? So Buffalo and Pittsburgh, 2 major markets. Major
fan bases.
But major.
Fewer eyes.
Obviously, the Eagles have been up in the top 5 for a lot of games. I understand that. But what about Cowboys-Packers? Like, it is Dallas. Now, I'm guessing what? I don't know what time.
I think they're Sunday at 4.
So they're not even the Sunday night game?
Or are they Sunday at... Well, I'll look at the schedule again. I don't know. I was so upset with
I'm just thinking of all right, so... Cowboys, Packers, you do have the Green Bay all there. I know the Rams are fraudulent in terms of being an LA team, but they are LA, and Detroit's a pretty big market. Like, out of all the teams, I would think Tampa's one of the smallest markets. Right?
Buffalo. I mean, again, I guess they're capitalizing. Former NFC champs. You have a chance to see the Eagles go out like that. You're gonna have Philadelphia tapped into it, and Cowboys Packers is the 4:30 on Sunday. So Fox got the Cowboys and Packers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The Fox thing.
I mean, I don't know. And to be honest with you, the fact that I'm so upset with the schedule, it tells you everything you need to know.
I just don't want it. I don't want to wait longer.
No, I want it on Saturday because, win or lose. But I'm talking win or lose about a team that I've watched go to Seattle, lose to Drew Lock. Win or lose about a team that made a game of Christmas Day against the Giants. Win or lose about a team that didn't force the Cardinals to punt. Win or lose about a team that went up to MetLife and was down 24-0 with their starters on the floor.
At halftime. Yeah, that's the worst part. He was with the starters. We had a caller earlier today who said he was a little busy during the game, so he had the game on, but, he wasn't really watching it. And just listening to the commentary by the Fox broadcast, all of a sudden he goes, wait a minute, are the starters playing? And they sure were. Let's go to Uncle Frank. Oh, boy. Uncle Frank, can you make anything of this?
Hell no. Hell no. Speaking of hell, I'm calling from the seventh ring of hell. Can you hear me?
Actually, that's good cell service from the seventh ring.
Yeah, not bad. Well, I've been down here a few times, so I've done, some underground. Anyway.
Okay.
So, it's Manic Monday, man. I'll tell you, if I knew how to play a bugle, I'd be playing taps right now. Yeah, I mean, and this bleeping game's 8 o'clock Monday. Jesus, Mary.
Yeah, not only do we have to wait till Monday, obviously Monday Night Football is at 8 o'clock, but we have to wait till the final quarter of the day.
The biggest, what transpired yesterday was the very worst case scenario that could have gone down. The biggest fears that the segment of fans, who wanted them to rest, came to fruition. And I know we wanted them to rest. I mean, everything, it was just Nick's pom-pom escape room mindset, I think, has grown very stale. They have collectively imploded. I'm having problems. Collectively, the players have...
You're having as many problems as the Eagles team right now, Uncle Frank. But that's okay. That's okay. I still got your back, just like I still have the Eagles' back.
Don't worry. I'm focused. The coaches, have no faith in the players. They should have...
I think it's the other way. I think the players don't have faith in the coaches, which is why you had anonymous reports coming out weeks ago.
It's both ways. I said it both ways. But they should have rested, reflected yesterday. It was quite obvious. I don't know about you guys. The veterans didn't want to be out there.
No, they did not want to be out there. And the second A.J. Brown gets hurt, first it's Sidney Brown, then A.J. Brown gets hurt, I'm sure every single player on that sideline that's a starter is going, man, why are we still out here? And I'm sure there was a mindset going into it. And thanks for the call, Uncle Frank. I'm sure there was a mindset from some of those players that didn't even want to play in that game to begin with. But once Sidney Brown goes down, once A.J. Brown goes down, you start going, why are we here? We all know about this turf. And I know the A.J. Brown injury had nothing to do with the turf, but you get what I'm saying. There's already a fear going into that field. And then there's the fear of, all right, should I really go all out in this game? Because this game doesn't really mean much. You're scoreboard watching. You're watching the Cowboys beat up on the Commanders eventually. Why am I still out here? I'm sure players had that mindset. Now, Nick Sirianni could have tried to get them out of that mindset and get fired up for the game, but that didn't happen because clearly his voice is not being heard anymore or heard as well. Just a lot of issues with this team right now. A ton of issues with this team right now. I don't know how it's just going to all of a sudden get better come playoff time. Let's go to Mark in South Jersey. What's up, Mark?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
So, a couple of things. I want to make a Sixers point later, but what bothers me is I see after the game we were talking about today at work. When I look at some of the responses from the locker room, I could tell Dallas Goedert is really tired of answering questions because he seems pissed off. And that makes sense. But Jalen seems to have this aura about him where he's like, well, I don't answer questions. I'm not talking about injuries. I don't answer about this. I don't answer about that. Before the end of the game, he's like smiling, shaking hands with his teammates, talking on the sidelines. You don't see that. I'm being honest. You don't see that from elite quarterbacks, franchise quarterbacks. I mean, he's got a C on his chest.
Yeah, I got a tweet. I want to give credit to a guy, Anthony Dean Photography, tweeted me in earlier today. He said, all year people have wanted Jalen to show some emotion. He waits until yesterday to show emotion by laughing on the sidelines after that performance.
Right. And now I do want to give a quick Sixers point. And you tell me what you think, Andrew. I'm Sixers. I'm all in. I look forward to every game. I was looking forward to the back-to-back this weekend. I got everything ready, had the snacks cooked, being made. And they crapped the bed twice. I don't care about the Knicks as much because they are a good team and they shot the lights out. But the second game, Saturday, Embiid's out, Melton's out, Tobias is out, but Embiid's not even in street clothes. And that just concerns me that at a home game where you're hurt on a back-to-back, you don't even show up. Toby was there. Toby was dressed in his whatever outfit, he was there supporting the team. But Embiid not even being there, I mean, it starts to make me wonder a little bit, why can't you even show up? Throw a hoodie on, throw some sneakers on, go sit on the bench, cheer on your team, be there as support. I don't know why you can't do that.
We also I don't know. He could have been in a booth somewhere. He could have been in a training room somewhere. I don't think he just went home to play with his kids. I appreciate the call, Mark. I don't think he just left. There was that ridiculous report about Christmas Day and how he missed the Christmas Day game on purpose. I don't think that's the case. Yeah, I went to the game Friday night. Wasn't that fun? It's fun being with my buddies watching the game. But yeah.
Sleep deprived and down by 30.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cooper slept this weekend. Got to give the kid credit. I like to rip him. I'm a credit where credit's due guy. He was a foxhole guy after yesterday's loss. I needed some extracurricular activities to help calm my nerves, and he slept through the night. It was great. All right, last one. Let's go to Don. Don, you're on the Fanatic.
All right, you know what? I don't even want to talk about the Sixers because I'm going to have plenty of time this winter.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Bitch and moan about the Sixers.
Okay.
I mean, I can't even deal with that right now.
Now, what do you got on the Birds then, Don?
Dude, there is something going on in that. There is something going on in that locker room.
Absolutely. Oh no, I think we know about. We just don't know the full story. I mean, finger pointing has been happening. Tim McManus, who you'll hear on the best show ever today for the entire 4 o'clock hour, has been talking about this since the loss of the 49ers. That there was finger pointing after the San Francisco game. That was their second loss of the season. Don.
Dude, when AJ last week came out and said they improvised on the last play of the game and Nick covered for him, I'm sorry. That's insane.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. As much as Nick has gotten heat today, I do give him credit still for doing that, but he shouldn't have had to.
No, which tells me that he's lost the team.
Yeah, him, and also Brian Johnson, because that call was made, right? And I'm sure the players in the huddle were like, what, this again? Thanks for the call, Don. I got to run. I appreciate it. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day as much as you can. You got the best show ever coming your way next. By the way, 1 o'clock hour brought to us by Ferguson HVAC Line Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester today. Everybody have a great rest of your day. We'll be back here tomorrow right here on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Meltdown at the Meadowlands.